Okay. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a minute. When last we saw the Trollskull sticks, you were coming off a bit of downtime and had approached the Iron Legion Char of the Black Citadel, asking, with your spare time, the accomplished dragon slayers and heroes of the realm that you are, how best could you offer aid to the high legions of the Char so that they could then free up some resources to help out with this dragon problem? You were directed to seek some extra information about the flame from Brimstone, the Tribune of the Blood Legion at the Black Citadel, who is currently on deployment at Blackblood Lake. Some of you took a little trip to see the Dermond Priory special collections, to ask them some questions, to get access so that Alexa could copy down some spells, and to ask about some of the artifacts they had in their possession, and Galitar, the nature of the Bloodstones. And fortunately, the secret curator, Ogden Stonehealer, last of the surface-dwelling dwarves, was quite knowledgeable on the subject. I don't recall if we left off with you guys in Lion's Arch together, or if you were staying the night at the Serrated Blade Inn in the Black Citadel. Somebody have that in their notes?
I have in my notes quite a while figuring out what to do next and how to get to Ritlock Brimstone. Decided to use transport via plants, but I don't know if we actually did it. I think we decided that's how we would do it, and then we were gonna go in the morning.
I think we were still in Lion's Arch.
With lunchbox.
No, she returned the Marmots.
That returned.
Okay. Oh.
I think those of us who didn't go to the Dermond Priory, did we just stay in the Black Citadel? Oh no, we did go back to Lion's Arch because we went to the wine bar. And I did scry on Ritlock so that I did see a tree. I don't think we have transported yet, though.
You have not.
Yeah, because you all spent time with what's his name? That's
I think I scried before we went to bed, and then we're waking up.
Bond, thank you. I knew how to adjust.
Probably my favorite NPC.
He's great. I really like every time he shows up.
Spank you, Alexa. Spank you very much.
Honestly, the only NPC that really holds their own with Birdie, just in every conversation.
You know, when you have to make a dramatic foil to someone, sometimes you got to go extreme.
They're few and far between, you know. So only a select few can hold a candle to Birdie.
So, we'll say you guys wake up on the day that will begin your great journey in Lion's Arch together. And assuming there's no other business, you head towards the Black Citadel through the Azura Gate Hub, and make your way down to the mustering grounds near the armory, where the Questor has the supplies that have been requisitioned. I think this is, I guess, where Kala would probably be returning the Marmux in the wagon, because this is who gave it to her. But you guys are told that in accordance with orders from Imperator Smodor, some provisions have been set aside for you. They specifically have a small box containing one superior potion of healing and 2 greater potions of healing. And the Questor just says that any sort of mundane adventuring gear, armaments, or supplies you need, the Citadel can provide. So if there's anything you guys want to pack before you leave, now would be the time.
Do we have enough water? I just want to check.
I have 10 water skins.
Okay. So it's like 5 for me.
Another 10
Mhm.
just to be safe. Maybe
I mean, I
the
can
Like
still-
50 pounds of water.
I can still magically create water, just like the last time we bought all of these water skins. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I went to get the water.
Oh, damn it.
They were all out, so. Good plan, though.
Nothing else? Nothing anybody needs?
If we want to split up who has which potions, I don't need anything. That's the only. I have like 2 regular potions of healing, and
I would like a potion. I have 1 regular potion of healing.
I got 2 regs and a greater. I'm good.
I have a regular.
Yeah, I only have regular.
I'll take one of those graders. Shoot, I'll take a superior if nobody else wants it.
I was gonna say we could give Brina the superior,
That works.
and then Kala could have the other greater. There were 3, right? Okay.
Yep, 2 greater and 1 superior.
Okay.
I don't think I need anything else.
Would it be beneficial if we got more rope or anything? Do we have plenty of rope between all of us?
I mean, basically
3.
everyone but me can fly, so like.
That's true. I'm just thinking, like, if we wrap the magic or something, but if Kola has 3 things of rope, we probably are good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Then unless they have ball bearings, I don't think I need anything else, but I would take another 1,000 ball bearings.
I absolutely have a package of ball bearings if you need them.
Yes. I'm gonna Hansel and Gretel our way around the world for the rest of this campaign.
You've done like in reverse, picking up rocks.
That's true, but now I'm really trying to leave my mark on the world.
There we go. All right. So before you take off, I want you guys to take just a second and picture your characters. So that the art on the Foundry screen right now is a high double-walled passage that leads to the northern gate of the Citadel, which is just near the mustering grounds. It's massive steel gate, which is it's kind of like a set of gears that sort of roll upwards out of the way and then can roll down and like embed themselves in the ground. It's a very thick, very sturdy structure. Iron plating just covering every surface. The Char are very large creatures, most of them, even the ones that don't appear to be soldiers, covered in some kind of armor, usually with extra spines or spikes or clawed gauntlets and horned helms. People are coming and going. You see pack marmoxes, wagons, siege engines kind of roll in from time to time. There is smoke, there is ash, there's a constant sound of feet on steel. And I want you to think about what your character looks like right now. What you're wearing, your armor, what you're carrying. How big is your pack? How heavy is it? Think about the weight of your weapons and the things you're carrying. Birdie, if you're carrying your flamethrower, you've got a massive iron pack on your back. It's like a Ghostbusters proton charger or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, cloaks, staves, and all that sort of stuff. Just take a moment to kind of settle into that. And then as you're thinking about that and thinking about the gear you're carrying with you, you guys begin to make your way to the northern gate. And Keitra, you realize you're going to have to step outside the city because there are no trees in this town. But as soon as you pass out of the north gate, you find yourself almost immediately greeted by a couple of rows of small-ish buildings. They're fairly large because they're sized for char, with only one story. But these buildings are made of plated iron. They have curved kind of dome tops with large, wide, metallic chimney openings just billowing sooty smoke. But they only stand about 3 deep. And the pathway you see coming down from the gate is this wide, like 20, 25 foot wide metal catwalk that extends down to the gravelly dirt. And then the path passes through, like, 3 of these buildings, and then begins to descend a gradual slope into what looks like idyllic pasture land. Off to the left, in the distance on the horizon, you can see the foothills of the Shiver Peak Mountains, and behind them the sort of darker shadow of the higher peaks further off. Between you and them, what looks like a rolling land of hilly farms and meadows, dotted here and there with trees, and the closer that land crawls to the foothills, the more dense the forests become. You can just make out, far off, directly ahead of you on the far horizon, a smaller range of mountains that seems to come down from the Shiver Peaks and cross the entirety of your field of vision. And as you kind of sweep to your right, to the east, just this open, rolling pasture land, spotted here and there by small clusters of trees. And it looks like the nearest grove with a tree of usable size is maybe 20-minute walk. Not terrible. And there are plenty of gravelly, well-worn travel roads nearby. Some of them take you right by where you need to go.
So because you made us look at our inventory, and I was cracking up that whole time, I realized a third of my inventory is drugs.
Alexa travels light.
Tracks, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I pack for a fun time, all the time.
Has anything happened yet with my new armor? Any change in that?
You guys took a long rest. Just a sec, let me make a note about
I think
that.
maybe 2 long rests since I've had it on.
So you put it on, and then the first long rest you tried to kind of intimidate, I think, and you like force the will inside the armor to bend.
Persuasion check first.
Persuasion check.
Mm.
Okay. Is it persuasion that you did?
Yeah, I didn't do intimidation.
Oh, yep. Yes, you did. And you slept with it on. That was the first night, and then last night I think would have been the second.
Hmm.
Okay. So the second long rest, this past night, as you take a moment to think about it and focus on it, what goes through Kala's mind about the armor itself, and about why it's not sitting quite right with her?
She's super frustrated about it. Really wants to make it work, because it was a gift from the Imperator. And like, she is not going to take this armor off, even if it won't attune. She is not going to admit that it's not working.
Okay. So okay.
Like, angry that it won't work, because like every other attunable item she's tried has just like instantly clicked,
So I would say, as you lay down to sleep that night in the armor, it is uncomfortable. It is not fitting you the way it should fit a char. and it gives you a little bit of trouble sleeping. But as you begin to doze, you find that sweet spot in between wakefulness and sleep. And you don't really realize that you've started a conversation until you're in the middle of it. It's almost like in a dream, you've come into the middle of a conversation you don't remember having. But you hear a feminine char voice that is raw and husky and tired. And it says, I can do this for all time. Who are you? I will share with you my knowledge.
I'm Kala of the Trollskull 6, Dragon Slayer.
Okay. So, what kind of angle are you going for to try and get this armor to attune to you? Either to get the armor to attune to you, or to change yourself in some way to make it vice versa, like to better orient yourself that way. Describe your process or your intent.
I think she's just confused at first because something's talking to her, and then realizing it's like the armor that's like, oh, you're not good enough to wear this armor. Then she gets angry and starts yelling and cursing at it. Like, this was a gift from the Imperator. You know, who are you to argue with the Imperator? I've killed 3 elder dragons. I'm gonna make this armor work. I'm not taking it off.
Okay. I'm assuming that's an intimidation.
Intimidation?
Check. Yeah, that'll do it. Let me go ahead and make your intimidation roll.
My charisma rolls are not good. Ooh. It's a 15.
Okay. Okay. As dream conversations do, it sort of goes fuzzy and fizzles out, and as you fall deeper into sleep. The next morning you wake up, and it's not comfortable, but you move a little more easily in it now. There is a yielding to the leather in that armor that progress does seem to have been made.
All right.
With that, you guys make your way down from the gate, follow the path, and eventually you find yourself. There are no farms this close to the citadel. You can see some further off in the distance, mostly large pastures with livestock, as opposed to growing grains or vegetables. But you are able to reach a grove with suitably sized trees. I assume you're using transport via plants.
Yes.
Okay. So you remember the image of the tree that you saw. Grab heart. And it is a simple enough thing to cast your spells at a 6th level.
Yep.
You guys watch as Kitri puts her hand on this massive tree, and as she sort of brushes her hand down, it just sort of opens into a cavernous kind of dark liminal space for a moment, and then the darkness sort of like ripples, almost like black fog, and kind of clears out like at the end of a short tunnel. And you guys step through one by one. You find yourself emerging from a similar sized aperture in a large tree, just outside what looks like a tall, crumbled stone archway, like 60 feet high. And built out from this ruined stone wall is a massive fort. It's nowhere near the size of the Black Citadel, but it is a well-fortified structure of just iron and steel and spikes and artillery and death. And there's just a host of Char warriors along the top. You can see spears and banners and crossbows and a couple of muskets that are now rapidly gathering at the side of the wall facing you and being pointed in your direction, as nearby, beneath the stone archway, a gate slides open and a Char sentry begins to walk out in full chainmail with spiked pauldrons and clawed gauntlets, very carefully unsheathing a sword.
I
And
guess we could have sent a message beforehand.
Yeah. How close are we to this?
You're maybe 60 feet from the guard that's on his way out of the gate. Probably 20 feet from the gate at this point.
Okay.
What's the I guess, like, what's the weather? Is it the same as like, is there any shift between going from like the Black Citadel to the like lake area? Is the fort also on the lake? Like, can we see the body of water, or that's like elsewhere?
From where you are right now, I would say this be facing. Be on southeast end, kind of. Yeah, I would say at this point, from your vantage point, no, you could not see the body of water. The sky is a little more overcast here. It's a little bit cooler. It was kind of like early summer in the Citadel, and it is here as well. It's not that far, but here the air is just a little cooler, and there seems to be a little more humidity, and the sky's a little more overcast.
I got this, guys. Hello.
Who's there?
Hello, we are the Trollskull 6 here to see Mr. Brimstone. I have identification, of course. He pulls out a business card and like kind of holds it. There's our documentation, which I'm sure you'll be after. He isn't expecting us, but I imagine he'll want to hear what we have to say.
I have orders from the Imperator, and I hand him the writ of passage that says, we're on official business.
Oh, well.
He stopped about 20 feet away, but he approaches within hand distance. He sort of like raises a hand up behind him. He's still carrying the sword in his other hand. But he reaches this massive clawed mitt out and takes the orders from you, Kyle, and gives you a long, kind of appraising look. Looks at the rest of you. His beady eyes kind of squinched up. You can see the horns poking out from under his steel helm. Turns the sword grip over and unrolls the writ. Takes a minute. You can see him moving his lips as he reads it. All right. Wait here. And he hands you the writ back.
All right.
He turns around and he starts to walk back towards the gate, and he swings his sword sort of over his head and then sheathes it. You hear
While he's walking away, since it's a little overcast, can Kitri just like druidcraft in her hand to be like, is it supposed to rain? Is he leaving us out here in the rain? I think it only tells you within the next hour.
24 hours, I think. I think it's like within the next 24 hours what the weather should be.
Yeah, just like so it could just stay cloudy.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's gonna rain sometime in the next day.
Well, Hopefully it doesn't start like right now.
You guys watch as a little storm cloud sort of forms in Keeter's hand and just starts dripping rain. It's not a downpour, but it's kind of a light rain.
Oh, don't worry, Keetri. If it starts to rain, I can just make it go away.
You what?
I'll just make it go away.
Yeah, you'll have to. I'm wearing suede shoes. That's not gonna work. No.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just wait and see. I don't want to burn a wish right off the bat, but
I mean, it's important.
But you knew where we were headed. Like
I didn't think it was going to rain, Keetri.
But if you were fighting something, do you want to wear suede shoes and a puddle of blood?
I didn't plan on getting bloody. No. Ew.
As what is a little rain? Come on. We have seen worse.
Well, to suede shoes, Brina, a little rain is death. It is the end of the line. So, you think about that. Okay?
Okay.
I wonder what shoe death is like.
Miserable.
I mean, regular death wasn't so bad.
I hate it. So.
When was the last time you were dead, Birdie?
Have I died? I don't think I've ever died. I'm kind of unkillable, so.
This is true.
The gods have chosen me, so.
Listen, if you step in that puddle, let me know and I will lay my coat down on top of it for you.
Thank you, Brina. Someone who understands.
Chivalry lives forever. Come on.
Brina takes his hand. Such a white knight.
Brina takes his hand, but like this. Like Pride and Prejudice.
Jump over a little puddle.
The Achar runner on the battlement sort of taking off in one direction at a pretty good clip. About 10 minutes later, the same guard flings the gate open wide, like pushes it all the way open. You hear the kind of creaking and groaning of the hinges, and he just motions you to come that way. As you guys enter the fortress, it's much the same on the inside as it is on the outside. I would say Galitar and Birdie, as you're walking around, you can see like the ruined edifice of this stone construction that used to be something Ascalonian. You realize it's not really part of the Great Northern Wall. That's far to the south. It runs along the southern border of this province, but this was certainly some sort of Ascalonian city at one point, and centuries ago was probably destroyed by the Char. They've just sort of built this onto the ruins. You get a lot of weird looks as you guys walk into this fortress. You're known commodity, and you know this at this point, even among the legions who haven't, like, they've participated in the pact, but not to the extent of the other races. But these guys know who you are, and it strikes you that most of them are very puzzled. Some of them are like, you can see the Char pride, wondering like, oh, what's going on here. They're not quite xenophobic, but they're not quite trusting either. But eventually, you are led up a set of winding stairs that sort of zigzag up onto the top of the battlements on the far side of the fortress. And standing almost in the same location as when you scryed on him, Keetri, Ritlock Brimstone, his heavy spiked pauldrons, the twisted braid of steel or mithril that forms his dragon skull hilted sword shoved into his scabbard at his side, looking out with his sort of dark brown burnt fur and sort of grumpy expression. And from this further side of the fort, looking out over the battlement, you can see the edge of what looks like a long lake that kind of stretches out into the distance and sort of dog legs around out of sight to the left.
Out of curiosity, does the lake look like it is made out of black blood, or is it just a regular lake?
Make a perception check for me.
Oh no.
It doesn't come up to the fortress. It's a little ways away.
Don't want to go swimming in it.
Clearly visible though.
I mean, she's curious. She's like, they keep calling it Blackblood Lake, so that's a 19.
You know, it's odd. It's like it a lot of times when you look at a lake, like it can kind of look black, you know, the way lake water does. Even from this distance, with your keen eyes, you can see that there are points on the surface where, like, as the clouds roll by and the light sort of waffles back and forth between dark and light, and it changes and dims and brightens again, there are spots where it's almost iridescent. There's like a weird shimmering multicolor pattern to it.
Does it look like an oil slick?
You know, you've seen some of those at the Black Citadel, where some of the byproduct of the char industrial machines have gathered in pools of water, and yeah, it kind of looks like that a little.
Oh. Yeah. Color key tree disturbed. Like, like looking out, like peering over Ritlock's shoulder, being like, "Ooh, the lake," and then she's like, "Oh, like, oh." Can't be good for the whales in that lake. I'm just kidding. She doesn't say that.
So, as you guys approach, Ritlock, he's just staring out at this lake. His mane that runs down from his forehead down his long, like thick bison-like neck is flaming red. It's sort of blowing in the wind a little bit, and he turns, and you can see he's got his heavy arms muscled and crossed, and he's sort of worrying at the little bit of like goat beard that he has dangling from his chin. He turns and sees you, puts his arms down and like clasps them almost formally behind him, and kind of stands up to his full char height, which is like a full head taller than Brina. Inclines his head imperiously down towards you all and just says,
"Well, it's been some time. Smolder should have let me know you were coming. I could have made better preparations. But you're always welcome. What can I do for you?"
We were hoping to talk to you about your time undercover with Flame Legion.
You see his upper lip curls, revealing his long, sort of fanged teeth, and he snarls a bit.
All right. If we must. But not here. Torias, you have the watch.
And he turns and just starts to kind of shuffle off, and his head very quickly assumes a sort of familiar char hunch as the sort of weight of his head and neck sort of lean naturally forward, bringing his foreclaws a little closer to the ground, and he leads you up into a slightly higher tower that sort of overlooks the courtyard and the exterior of the tower through these massive grated windows. Once you're inside, you see a pretty Spartan chamber. There is what looks like a bed frame with piles of furs on it, but no real mattress to speak of. There's a pretty good sized, very rough hewn table that functions apparently as his desk. It's covered with papers and scrolls. They're not disorganized, there's just a lot of them. And he has one very large wooden chair behind it that is simple and bare, but very large and clearly like well crafted to be comfortable, or as comfortable as a wooden chair can be. As he enters, there is a smaller, more petite looking, as far as male char go, petite. You know, it's still like a massive creature, but more slender of build char in which looks like canvas clothes. No real military outfit, who snaps to attention, and Ritlock just says,
"Grab some seats for these mice."
And just kind of dismisses him. And you see this guy kind of look at each of you and momentarily kind of take your measure. You see he's doing some very quick arithmetic.
"Yes, Tribune."
And he scoots out of the room. Gritlock makes his way around the desk and sort of flops into his big wooden chair, puts his hands on the table.
Was your journey long? Do you need anything to drink?
No.
All right. If you do any walking hereabouts, be sure to take enough fresh water. The lake is not proper for drinking.
Good to know.
I kind of, yeah, it doesn't look good by regular lake standards.
Sort of raises an eyebrow and looks at you, Kitri.
Blackblood Lake gets its name from the tar that seeps up from deposits at the bottom. For years, the Flame collected it to burn in their ritual fires, and the Iron Legion has tried to claim it to fuel their siege engines.
So no beach time. Got it.
Go swimming in Blackblood.
Chuckles a little bit and says,
If you want to take your time to walk around the edge, feel free, but the area is infested with angry elementals and scale. The elementals pose the greater threat, usually, but we can keep them at bay. The further north you go around the lake, the more scale you find.
What? What is scale?
Scale are amphibious creatures. Clawed hands, long fangs. They ambush creatures from the water, and I don't know what to call it. They have a thing that they do. It's disgusting. They can open their jaws and push their spine into their mouths.
Disgorge.
It exposes a sack of acidic venom. They spray it on their prey.
So like definitely no beach day.
Or like Battle Beach Day. This went from like a 180, in my opinion.
Different strokes for different folks.
Like
That
instead
is what
of
the
relaxing,
scales-
it is having fun.
Ugh. Well, you have fun with the scales.
about this time you hear clattering on the stairs outside the tower, and the aide comes back with a couple other Char carrying chairs in each hand, and they just kind of shuffle into the room. It's not a huge room, and this is a lot of Char, so they're sort of elbowing each other out of the way, and they just kind of haphazardly toss the chairs in your direction and make their way out. The Char in sort of normal civilian clothing stands at attention by the door and says,
Anything else, Tribune?
and Ritlock just kind of looks at him and says,
No. Leave us and lock the door. No one enters until I say.
and the aide just sort of,
As you say, sir.
turns around, and you hear this heavy iron door sort of as the latch falls. And now you are alone with Ritlock. He just kind of motions to the chairs.
Take what works. I'm sorry. We don't normally keep furniture for small creatures.
It's all fine. Yeah.
You guys kind of shuffle your stuff into position. He says,
All right. What do you need to know?
Whatever you can tell us about the Cathedral of Flame. We're going in to kill Gaharin.
And collect hands, ears, fingers. I already forgot what we're supposed to collect.
Right hands.
It was like, 2 days
Of
ago.
the God-forged. Good. The more of them you can take out, the better off we'll be. The cathedral itself is carved into the side of Rangmer, the jaws of oblivion. The great volcano at the joint of the Cinder Crests and the Blaze Ridge. It is a sacred site for the Flame Legion. The only proper way in that I know of are the obsidian doors on the western side. It is said they open only to the will of Balefire and his shamans. That's a poetic way of saying they have to stand before the door and speak the passphrase. As far as I know, only a shaman can get them to open of their own accord. You may be able to fool them with an illusion, but you'll have to speak the words. Fire eternal, fire within, all will serve, or all shall end. This is the Flame Shaman Creed.
What was that one more time?
Give
Fire,
it like a
fire within,
Fire
fire
eternal.
beneath us.
C+.
It's under our skin,
Fire
or something.
Not enough rhyming.
Fire to
Yeah,
the
honestly.
brim.
Eternal,
Fire eternal.
fire within,
Fire within.
all will serve,
Ooh.
or all shall end.
Ooh.
Good slant rhyme there, okay.
The Flame are not known for their poetry.
No, but I love a secret passcode.
Okay. And so we just have to speak this passphrase, and they'll let us in, assuming.
No. Only a shaman can speak the passphrase. You may be able to fool it with an illusion, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bard, which is like a kind of shaman, I think. We'll
The
make
books
us all look like.
themselves are magically enchanted.
No.
It would be very difficult to force your way in, but as far as I know, the stone around the doors is not particularly enchanted. It's just thick mountain stone. You could try to blow your way in with explosives, but it would be noisy.
And this is the
Okay.
main door.
To my knowledge, it's the
Oh.
only door.
We could make a door.
One way in, one way out.
That's true. Could make a door. So when you say only a shaman, so if I like look like a shaman and sound like a shaman, do they have like are they actually like, do you know if they're like casting a spell to actually open that, or is it just like a general
I
shaman
don't know.
vibe? Yeah. Interesting.
During
Okay.
my time among the Flame, I was not privy to that sort of information. I was sent undercover, and I lived among them for several years. I did some things I'm not particularly proud of. For a while I worked as a taskmaster in the mines that honeycombed the ground under the cathedral. They believe the iron from Hrongmare is sacred, and they've spent centuries digging it all up.
Is there any way from the mines into the cathedral?
Yes, from the main level there is a tunnel that leads directly to the mines. When I was there, the upper levels had been exhausted. The excavation proper is further below.
So would there be any chance that we could potentially go through the mines to get to the main level?
I am not aware of an external entry to the mines. I know that at the base of the volcano, in the heart of the caldera, they have a great foundry where the iron from the mines is taken for smelting and shaping into weapons and other worse things. There must be an opening of the mine that leads to that location, but to my knowledge the only way there is through the main doors.
maybe we could make a door to the mines? Maybe?
Right, was it like if we bust up some weapon production and assassinate someone?
I mean, I do have magical paints.
Sounds like we go
Could make a door.
quiet or we go loud.
Yeah. I think we can. I think I could take some time tonight, attune to my mask of many faces, and we could try to go in there looking like a bunch of Flame Legion boyos.
Because
I will
I'm
say
gonna
that
be real convincing.
The seeming spell does not change your size.
Correct. It would be
It gives you a foot, I
fluctuates like a
thought.
foot.
Yeah, it can give you a foot.
Which
Could
isn't
we
much.
just be like an
That's
Alexa
why
and a
Alexa
keychain
was
and
like a
trench
baby
coat?
char that
Dude,
one
yeah,
They're
I
babies.
still would be nowhere near enough.
Ritlock says, "Children are not kept in the cathedral.
It's
The
bring your
young
kid to
are
work
not
day.
allowed. It's a sacred place. Any captured
Your
slaves,
children to work there.
any captured
That's good.
slaves are put to work in the mines until they die of exhaustion or get offered up as sacrifices. It's not unusual for a taskmaster or an overseer to herd up a group of slaves for a special project, whether it's opening a new shaft deep in the mines, hauling out some special find, or even moving them down to the foundry level for sacrifice."
But are all the slaves char, or are the slaves all peoples?
Well, Brina can act like a char. Galitar could get away with it.
Were
I could probably look like a really
barely
injured
full
char.
humans.
Yeah, like one with like horrible spinal issues. I could probably pull that off.
No char is gonna think you're a char.
They will think I'm a worthless char, which is exactly what I want them to think.
So, as far as the slavery portion goes, do you have slaves from all over the place, or like?
Ritlock looks from Keytree to you and says,
"The slaves that serve in the mines are both char, human, and a variety of other creatures that live in Fireheart Rise. They often capture Grawl slaves. Those who will not conform and worship Balefire have been taken lately."
You guys could probably pass for Grawl.
So could we just look like, yeah, those kind of people, and then we'd make just color look like a different char that's our overlord, taskmaster person?
Well, I was thinking Brina as well as a char, just for this sense of more guards to take care of the slaves.
Yeah, I can do char.
Yeah,
Oh,
normally.
Oh, I love to eat meat.
"Does your magic disguise your voices? They do not allow females in this cathedral."
Oh, right.
God, I hate
Right.
"Unless they too are slaves. Or
Could it be like
cold servant."
Are any of the like char men in the Flame Legion, are they just kind of gruff that they would like, I don't know, grunt or something? They wouldn't have to speak? Could Kala just like make
That's a char thing.
Okay, yeah. Well, then I mean Kala is very good at that. I talk all the time and she just makes like one grunt and then just walks away. So we could absolutely do that.
Yes, I am a char male.
No, Brina, maybe just leave it to Kala's grunts. Yeah.
Okay.
Your presence though.
Body
Very
language.
I will say
Use
for-
your
for those
body
of you
language.
Thinking about this mechanically, that would be a deception check, just so you know.
The two
Also-
smoothest motherfuckers out here.
You guys don't smell like char. You smell like
That's very
flowers
true.
and stuff.
I
That
think
would, if
blood
we
and
passed as
ash.
slaves, maybe that wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, would we need to make ourselves
Really
smell worse though as
fresh
slaves? Because
slaves.
slaves probably wouldn't smell good, right?
Ritlock sort of like leans a meaty elbow on the table and leans forward a little bit and looks at you, Galitar, and says,
"No char likes the way humans smell. So they keep their slaves fairly clean."
I don't know why you had to lean forward to say that.
To
Kinda
It was
hurtful.
good.
My earnestness.
Thank you,
You're going
Redlock.
to a very dangerous place with some of the most cruel creatures.
Just really sounds
Very
like we should
careful.
blow the fucking place up then.
So so when we're talking about like blowing the place up or doing things like that, do we want to come up with a plan or something to deal with like how do we get out all of these slaves? Like we probably don't want to blow up the place on top of these slaves, yeah?
I guess.
Do we have a way of actually making something that large blow up?
We've got lots
I'm
of
sure I could find a way.
Oh, I also still have this scroll that rains down hellfire upon a specific location within a certain radius. So assuming we evacuate enough people, I could also use this and then cover our escape by, bombing the shit out of this place.
But there's always the assumption
Really
that
like that.
possibly, even if we did bomb it, what if people still survive, particularly the people that we've been sent for?
Oh no, we'll
Well-
kill him
Yeah, we
first.
need to kill them
Yeah.
first.
We gotta get the
yeah.
hands. I mean, we
And
need
the head.
to get
yeah.
paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got to kill the leadership and then maybe get the people out and then bomb the fuck out of the remainder of the people.
I think this is like a SEAL Team Trollskull 6 situation. And then you can leave the carpet bombing for maybe another time.
It's our going away gift.
I've had this scroll for a while and honestly, I don't know when I'm going to get to use it.
Are there?
We
This
just
seems
see-
like a perfect time.
Do shamans ever leave the cathedral?
Yeah.
They have regular patrols. The taskmasters, the kennel masters
Oh,
run patrols around the lands nearby. Yes.
well, this just got a whole lot easier. We just roll up on one. I'll do my thing, and they'll open the door for us.
Do you think they speak a common language with you, Bertie?
I can be pretty convincing when I want to.
You have
All
good
Char
neighbors,
speak
right?
common.
Yeah.
Inside
I-
joke, Ritlock, sorry.
I love Redlock Brimstone.
I think that actually, if we wanted to go stealthily, we roll
Yeah.
up, maybe hit a patrol, and I'll
We'll
just
Probably have to kill everybody but the shaman.
yeah, that's fine. I'll work on the shaman.
Is that hard for us, Kala?
Oh, well, I
No,
guess
but then we have to not kill the shaman.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'd have to
fair,
know which one the
fair.
shaman is from the get-go. So there is that, the Collis point.
I can get this done for us for like an hour. If we by the time we get the patrol for an hour, I can try. No promises that it works, but it's worth a swing, right? I mean, that's got to be the easiest way in.
Well, yeah, so I guess the options would be either to do that, which makes a lot of sense, or to go with like
Yes.
us all just being Collar's seeming prisoner and just making Collar look different, and then Collar just grunting very effectively.
That's like a plan B.
No, I mean that's also a pretty good plan, though. I mean,
Also, I'm
I don't-
sure if we all act extra feeble, they wouldn't second guess that Kala's the only one like bringing us in.
Honestly, I don't think we have to act. I think if we're just ourselves, from what I get from Collar and Ritlock, they would think this of us.
Ritlock says,
For a while, I had to work as a taskmaster in those mines. I had to play the part well or risk blowing my cover. It's awful what they do to those slaves. But I can tell you, the overseers live in fear of them. They're so overconfident, the slaves in the mines outnumber the Char 10 to 1 down there.
Oh, you
But
know
they
it.
keep the slaves in a state of perpetual hunger and weakness.
Heroes feast for
And
the
some food.
slaves.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am thinking a bit of a slave rebellion situation.
Yeah, for sure,
Hmm?
for sure.
Yeah, but if they're that weak, most of them would probably just be killed very quickly.
Which they're gonna die in the mine anyways. They might want to try to fight for a chance.
Yeah.
I guess
put
that's
that
fair.
question to them.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
what the situation is when you arrive.
And also, if there are enough of them, maybe it would be more of a distraction.
Also, potentially, if we find a large group of particularly feeble slaves, we could always put them into the lifeboat and then presumably have Kolinar like come get them and just immediately get out like elderly or sick or smaller beings. And in that way,
for this plan here, I'm just thinking I can use my paints to make like shackles that are like, you know, quick release kind of thing, not really locked or like look locked but aren't kind of thing. You know, I'll have to think about how that works precisely, but
that would be really smart, Bertie.
yeah,
Arts and crafts.
Good idea.
Could you also make it look like we have shackles on with your seeming spell?
I don't think it does that. I think it changes like, well,
I think it does clothing and armor.
That's true.
It'd be a lot for a spell.
That's true. I guess it could. I would have to reattune to that. I'm not currently attuned, so if we're gonna go,
It was
like
just another suggestion.
yeah.
Well, I guess if you're going to make color look different, would it just be the same level of magic for that spell anyway? So then you might as well just do
It's gonna be a
shackles
whole
or
level. It's gonna be a whole thing, right? Because like obviously there's a lot that's got to happen. I mean, it's gonna take like a full day of makeover. We'll have to. I don't know. I'll probably fresh canvas it, so we'll do like a full wash down, and then we'll start like applying layers of dirt and ash and that kind of thing.
So this is an illusion, or
well, partially.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
the
lost
the
the point
foundation of
somewhere.
any good illusion is the reality beneath. You know, so I mean, I could just wave my hand, but what fun is that?
What time do you want us
not
to
easier?
make up?
Right, that's the whole point of our shtick.
I don't know if I have that spell, so actually, I don't think I know.
Worst bard ever.
Well,
Bertie is not prepared.
I don't have. Well, I guess I have. Yeah, I would have to reattune to. If that's the thing we're gonna do, I'd have to drop something and attune to my mask.
So just so I'm clear, what I'm hearing right now is that maybe we pretend to get captured as slaves by Kala, who gets us in to where the slaves are, who then we get them to Chandler, mute your microphone.
Yeah, sorry, Bosh.
God. Anyways, if we get into where the slaves are and then get them to revolt, and that causes a large bit of mayhem, that would allow us to go up to the cathedral and take care of what we need to do. I think is that what this is, or are we
somewhere?
So I do worry with this plan, right? It said only a shaman can open these doors, and if Kala rolls up to the front door, not a shaman, and is like, "Sup, open the doors, city magic, presto, presto, wingo, wango," I'm not sure they're gonna open.
Yeah, and if we go in through a door we make, everybody's gonna know we're not supposed to be there. So we don't really need the whole deception thing.
That's why I think Bertie, doing his thing with a shaman.
So with your thing with the shaman, what would we need to like we just need to kill everybody, figure out who the shaman is, kill everybody else, and then you can control just the shaman for an hour. Yeah. So we also need to be relatively close to the place so that we can get back in a decent time.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we did that, we wouldn't necessarily be going to then say the mines because we're just going directly to the cathedral.
Well, that's the only way into the mines,
Well,
other
that's-
than the forge.
Yeah, it gets us in
We
everywhere.
we can still do the mines. We get inside, kill the shaman, then go
That
to the
okay.
mines.
For some reason, I thought that somehow you got to the mines from outside the cathedral. No, this makes sense now. Sorry.
Now I will say, once I try to get this guy, right? As soon as I've got him, don't touch him, because if you know, once I've got him, if he takes any if you hurt him, then he might break out of the spell. Okay.
We might need to like tie him up till we get closer.
No.
Then you do
No,
the
he's
thing.
gonna be very well behaved, very docile.
Also, is this just like a suggestion kind of spell, or like is there a chance that this does not work and then we are kind of like, what do we do then?
Yeah, we'll have to kill him and try again on a different patrol. Yeah, I mean,
wow, that's the most Trollskull 6 plan ever.
I like
We just
that.
kill them all and try again.
Honestly, I mean, so here's the thing. This is
Love
a
it.
fairly high level capability, but I guess I don't think I have.
Just fucking charm person.
No, well, I mean, so I could charm him, but then he's still gonna be uppity against.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't. That's not good enough for this situation.
I don't have dominate person because we frankly very rarely interact with people these days. In terms of like fighting them, like they're just so puny and weak. But I do have dominate monster. So, but I only have like two cracks at that, and those are like the two highest slots I have. So I got one shot at it. I could try to suggestion him. That would be a tough swing, in terms of like making that sound like a reasonable course of action. But if we kill all his friends and say, hey, you've got one route out of here where you don't die, and that is if you open these doors. Suggestion: save yourself.
He'd rather die.
You and I can talk about that as player to DM mechanic wise. So when you use suggestion, the reasonability doesn't necessarily have to be like reasonable to the person based on like the thing you're telling them to do. The thing about that spell is you give two components when you speak. You give them, like, you state a situation that causes the suggestion to be reasonable, and then you give them the suggestion, like, a dragon is coming, run. And then it's reasonable if a dragon's really coming to run. And so as long as it's kind of reasonable in that way, you know, if you say we're bringing sacrifices to the Imperator, take us to the mines or something like that, that would be a reasonable situation, you know, and the magic makes them think that whatever you told them is true.
True. Okay.
Basically. So it's like, as long as it's reasonable in that context, I think is the intent of the spell.
Okay.
So would your dominate monster would or wouldn't work on Char?
Oh yeah.
It
Oh yeah.
It works on most
everything.
That'll work on
Everything,
fucking anybody.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's monster. It's creature.
Well, I just didn't know if Char were monsters.
I was like, that seems
they're good people.
That's
They're
where
good
we
people.
We're all
keep-
monsters in our own way.
That's
Wow.
where we can keep
D&D brings us all together as monsters, and that's what
very
really matters.
docile, very.
They really should rename the spells Dominate Humanoid and Dominate Creature.
Yeah,
So
that would be a better naming.
Yes, more in line with just the
Internally
already
consistent.
terms. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I could try to suggestion him, but
And just work your way up the spells.
it certainly gives us less options. Yeah.
Is there any way we could get a map of the mines?
Ritlock kind of chuckles and just says, huh, there are so many tunnels. I couldn't draw you a map if I tried. It's been several years. I doubt I could even draw an accurate map of this cathedral proper. What I can tell you is that the upper level, what they call the Cathedral of Flame, is a single level. There's a wide hall with high pillars. There are many barracks chambers for the zealots and the shamans that occupy the temple. Also Balefire's throne room, and I believe the living quarters for the Hierophant are on that level. It's there you'll find the entrance to the mines, as well as a great lift that can lower you directly to the foundry.
It seems like if we're already there and inside, we should just do the mission.
I will warn you that the great lift is quite loud. It is very difficult. You will arrive in the foundry with great pomp and circumstance. It will not be secret.
So when we go in, I am confused again. So we go into the mine, then we go up, or we go into where the cathedral is and we would have to go down later into the mine?
The great obsidian gates enter the cathedral.
Okay.
The first level of the cathedral has the lift that goes to the foundry and the entrance into the mines, which descend down ultimately to the foundry.
Gotcha. And then the highest level of the cathedral is where the people that were really after the leadership of the Flame Legion are?
Typically, unless they're in the foundry or some other portion doing work.
That would be our luck.
That would fucking suck.
Yeah. So, I guess my curiosity, we get into the cathedral, we kill the leadership. Do we think they're just going to start killing slaves right away? Like they're going to be like, oh, there's some sort of havoc going on upstairs, we should just kill all these slaves?
I don't think that they would be like, oh, look at all of the labor we got for free. I'm nervous, we should kill it all. I think they will hold off.
Okay.
On everyone. But
Kala?
They just seem very no nonsense.
Yeah. That's fair.
I really have no idea what they do in that situation. I don't know if they have orders for that, because I feel like they wouldn't have thought about it.
Yeah.
Soldiers in the mine hear that the cathedral is under siege. They will post up and prepare for an invasion, holding their positions at all costs. It would not surprise me if they took some of the workers hostage in an attempt to prevent invaders from reaching them.
Well, we just won't go down there.
Well, that's how we foil their entire plan. We just don't engage.
I mean, if we don't go down there, they're just gonna rebuild once we leave.
There is always another shaman, hungry and greedy, waiting in line to ascend the throne.
That's why we have to kill them all.
And that means then we can do the meteor thing.
Male char there.
We can prioritize the people that we'll get to when we first get into the cathedral, and then we'll make our way, I guess, to the mine / the forge.
There is a saying among the Blood Legion. No plan survives contact with the enemy.
That's a very good saying.
Oh, Susan.
Our plans don't usually survive the trip to the place we're going.
Our plans usually don't survive 5 minutes into us making our plans, if we're being honest.
I don't really remember the plan.
Yep,
but I'll go wherever you guys are headed. I'm following Kala on this one, really.
Yeah, why don't we just appoint Kala and Bertie co-leads for this mission, and then the rest of us just kind of like follow behind.
I don't. Bertie doesn't need that.
Like I guess I would be like primary co-lead, and Kala would be like secondary co-lead. And all right,
let's vote on Kala for primary co-lead. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
So Kala can be primary co-lead, and I might be like executive co-lead.
I'm sorry. Can we say for this purpose, Ritlock Brimstone would also raise his hand and say
Yeah, I was gonna
he
ask
also knows
what is
Bernie?
Ritlock's reaction?
Ritlock's hands are like flat on the desk, and he is just like staring at the table, shaking his head.
Like, shut the
How do
fuck
these
up.
fuckers kill 3 dragons? How?
Because democracy is powerful.
You know, the Char have no gods. But surely someone must be looking out for you fucks.
That's
It's almost enough to make a believer of me.
I mean, it's probably true in more ways than one. But they may not all be
we have
divine.
died, so there is someone looking out for a couple of us.
It is a miracle that we have made it this far. So that's how I know this is gonna go fine.
No, it's not. I'm fucking good at my shit. You want to know why I'm alive? It's because I'm the fucking best.
Honestly,
Sorry. Like,
never mind. I like your attitude.
yeah.
Ritlock gets up and goes over to a little steel cabinet. You hear the little ee as he squeaks the doors open. He puts his claws in, and he comes out with like 2 fists full of small glasses, and he just sets them down. There's a little clink, clink, clink as he puts them all on the table and sort of like picks them up. Some of them fell over. He reaches a long arm back in, and he pulls out this dusty fucking bottle that is covered with little like twine netting around it. He reaches in with his fang, he sinks it into the cork, and you hear the as he pulls the cork out.
Char whiskey.
And he pours it into each of the glasses, just kind of spilling it all over the table. It gets on some of the papers, and he just sort of brushes it off. He lifts one, and he motions to the rest of you.
Yeah, I'll take mine. Take one.
Here's to miracles. May we see another.
Hopefully.
Later.
Takes a shot, and he just kind of eyeballs each of you.
I will say that is the nicest way anybody has ever insulted / complimented us at the same time.
I don't take it as an insult.
Oh, no, I'm pretty
Take a
sure he
shot?
just said it takes a
Yeah.
miracle for us to survive everything that we do.
You gotta admit, fate has definitely intervened a couple times. The spirits are definitely looking out for me.
I don't know. I just think it's your sister. You know, like she really came through last time. So
All of you make Constitution saves.
Hey!
Oh, bitch, you're kidding! No.
This is Char whiskey.
Baby boy, he
Oh,
was
okay.
not ready for
Pretty
that.
good. Pretty good. I'm
Oh,
happy.
29.
Birdie! Oh, Birdie!
Birdie needs a well-aged Merlot, and frankly, beyond that, it is not gonna go well.
He needs barefoot Moscato with that.
So Brina, as you throw this shot back, it coats the inside of your mouth like honey, and it burns. But damn, like there is a smokiness, almost like the good scent of wood smoke that's like drying out fresh hunted mountain boar. It takes you back. This is good shit. It's super strong though. Like you exhale and it burns your eyes. Birdie and Alexa, you are for the moment poisoned, and you cannot speak. You guys throw it back, and as you swallow, it feels like you have swallowed a hot coal. And as you exhale, the smell goes into your eyes, and you tear up. Your nose starts to run, and it's like.
This is
so. Ritlock just kind of chuckles a bit under his breath.
You'll be alright in a while. Char whiskey is the best. But it is not for the faint of heart.
No, I
The
think
only
that
way
was
to
attempted
properly
homicide.
toast.
He pours himself an extra one and takes an extra shot, puts the cork back in.
It's not a great aftertaste. I do think that was attempted homicide, though. Bertie does not look good.
I've seen him drink before. He'll come through.
I've generally never seen him this quiet.
The last time I saw a human drink char whiskey, they never did get their voice back.
Oh my god.
We would only be so lucky. I mean, also bad because we're relying on him for our plan.
That's like 97% of his shtick, but the 3% would be peaceful.
I'm sure they'll be all right. Do the rest of you have any further questions?
Just my only other question would be, is there anything beyond just killing every single Flame Legion person that we can find that would be helpful in deterring future shamans from trying to take up the mantle and like take back on this kind of role of the Flame Legion? Like, is there any sort of sacred artifact or item or anything that would be helpful to like crush kind of that will of the Flame Legion?
Ending the threat that Balefire poses with his fanatical, cult-like following is the greatest blow we could deal to them. Part of the treaty between our people was cemented by the retrieval of the blade of the Khan-Ur from Old Ascalon. The High Legions now possess that, giving someone among us the ability to claim the right to lead all Char. Perhaps, once Balefire and those directly beneath him are slain, the rest of the Flame might see reason and return to the negotiating table. We could certainly use their, excuse the pun, firepower against the Elder Dragons.
Same pun Logan would have made.
Like his head like whips to you for a second. There's like a squint in his eye. This is a dangerous look, but then it passes. He just kind of lets it roll off.
Is does Balefire himself have any particular abilities that we should be concerned about, especially within the cathedral?
Balefire is one of the most gifted shaman among the Flame. That is how he rose to power initially. His kinship with fire, the raw strength of it, is unlike any other. Rungmer itself and the cathedral channel the power of the volcano. Balefire has controlled the cathedral long enough that I have no doubt he can call upon its magic. To what extent, I do not know. No one in my lifetime has been foolish enough to try to infiltrate it.
So he could call upon this power?
I would assume.
Oh, okay.
His Godforged like to say that he is one with the flame, and all Rungmer is primal, elemental flame.
So Heroes Feast tonight. Anything else we should be doing to prepare ourselves?
Are you asking him or are you talking to the group?
Just as a whole to anybody. You know, fire resistance potions he wants to offer, eternal immunity to fire.
I left my fire
Oh right, I forgot
sword
Alexa and Birdie are done.
I left my fire sword at home.
Yeah, Birdie just like rubs the nipple on his armor.
Not the nipple.
Starts moaning with the light.
Ritla kind of glances down. Oh, that's fine craftsmanship. What manner of flesh is that?
I think it's a gin. Gin nipples, I believe, is correct.
It has the scent of flame. Could be gin. That's quite a prize. I imagine that will come in very useful where you're going.
Yeah, the sad part is it's not why he wears it.
Ritlock sits back and starts rubbing the bridge of his snout. Just closes his eyes, shakes his head a little bit.
So
I can provide tools and normal weapons if you require supplies, but I don't have anything particularly useful for the flame.
And is there anything else we need from it, Doc, to prepare? Or is it just kind of like we just need to prepare now and do it?
Do it!
Yeah, I think we're
I
good.
would just do it.
I
Fuck
mean,
'em.
what are we missing? Does if none of us need anything, then here, Bertie, and I'll just smack him on the back a few times.
It's gonna take some time. Ritlock does stand up and walks over to the other side of the room.
He says, before you leave, I believe you'll want to see this.
And he stretches out along the table a vague map of Fireheart Rise. And you can see down in the lower right corner, there's a slightly kind of vaguely crescent-shaped body of water. And he says,
This is Blackblood Lake. We are at the edge of the Ascalonian Highlands, the Diesta Plateau. Here are Cindercrest Range, and just beyond that, Fireheart Rise. You should notice several flame camps in the mountains as you pass. Are you walking, riding? How are you traveling?
We're
think
gonna
by
use some kind of
cloud-
weird magic thing.
I think either a cloud comes and gets us, or we get.
No,
On
we
the
turn into
cloud.
the cloud. Yeah.
Camp
Remember,
Lodge.
you
I
can
like
try
that.
to be as a cloud.
I don't want to.
Oh,
I don't want to be a cloud.
that's how rain happens.
If you're flying, then you'll certainly notice flame camps as you pass over the ridge. Beyond that, there is a descent into a great plain. Most of the Groll tribes live among the foothills there. Once you pass the foothills, there is a great plain, white, with ash and stone, where geysers of bubbling, steaming water erupt from the ground. They are not safe to drink from. They are sulfurous and toxic. Once you pass the sulfur plains, you will see the burning forest. It is infested with elementals. The trees there constantly burn. They are living towers of cinder, burning like coals at all times. The furthest patrols from the cathedral make their way into the forest, so if you decide to descend there, be especially cautious. On the other side of the forest, you will find the Ashen Wastes, a great flat region where the ground itself is mostly crusted obsidian and dried lava formations. If for any reason you must pass on foot, be extraordinarily careful. On the far end of the Ashen Plain, where you find rivers of flowing molten rock, you will see the tallest peak, typically towering with smoke and ash, and that will be Hrangmer. You will know it when you see it. Come at it from the west, and you should find the doors. They are only about 100 feet up from the plain itself, on a narrow ledge, but easily accessible, and they are so secure in their arrogance They don't typically post guards outside. It just kind of points those out on the map so you guys know vaguely landmarks to kind of mark your progress so you know in what direction to head.
This is all good to know. Thank you.
Gives you a curt nod and kind of rolls the map back up.
Well, do you need anything else from me? I should return to my rounds.
You want to join us for dinner? I think we're having a heroes feast.
Would be good for you even if you aren't necessarily in need of it.
If you're willing to hold your dinner in the mess hall, I'm sure your presence would be a great boon to morale around here.
Are you sure about that?
Many of my soldiers are quite curious as to how such a unusual warband was formed, and how you've been so successful. I tried to explain it to them, but it gets lost in translation.
I feel like we often get invited places and then people find us kind of disappointing. Well, most of us kind of disappointing. I mean, you've dealt with us. I don't need to explain this to you.
If you can tell stories of your battles, I think that will suffice. Surely, the struggle against Mordramoth, or Zaitan, or even lately against Jormag, would make for an entertaining tale. We've heard rumors here. Certainly never a first-hand account from dragon slayers.
Well, if you can get Bertier's voice back, he'll do a whole ballad about how he single-handedly defeated each of those dragons.
Yeah, if he has a
We'll
fresh
put some
glass of lemon
Marmox milk
water.
in him. It'll help.
Fair enough.
Bertie just gives him the like bringing in for a hug kind of motion as he likes to.
He kind of like does the dog head tilt, like he has no idea what you're talking about. He doesn't understand that motion.
I
Puts
can't
a
imagine.
big clawed paw out and just like basketball palms your forehead and just holds you at arm's length.
Oh, it's a hug.
Let's get some Marmox milk in you. Out we go.
And he sort of like lightly pushes you that way and starts shepherding you all towards the door. Yeah, he leads you down out of the tower. You find his plainclothes aide sort of like standing on the battlements, arms crossed, and just sort of like waiting around patiently. And as you guys start to make your way down the stairs, he snaps to attention again, and Ritlock just waves him away and just says,
"It's fine. Go get a bite to eat. Take a break."
It's the guy gives a crisp salute and like scampers off. Ritlock just kind of rolls his eyes.
I hate bureaucracy. They gave me an aide-de-camp and I don't know what the hell to do with him.
He just continues to lead you down the steps towards the mess hall. No. Assuming there's no other business you want to handle, this is, I guess, kind of early in the morning. I guess after getting to the army, walking to the tree, and the briefing, it's probably getting on like lunchtime at this point. He takes you guys in, and some time passes. You have time to cast the feast and actually start eating before the concoction that he hands Alexa and Birdie. It's like Marmox milk with some like hot peppers and like a weird citrus added to it. It's a weird tasting mixture, but like about 10 minutes after you drink it, your voice starts to kind of croak back a little, and after about a half an hour, you're fine.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to drink either of those again.
My poops are gonna be so weird tomorrow. Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah, as they're doing as we were eating the heroes feast, Birdie will regale any surrounding char with the full ballad of the past couple dragon fights, full of the proper embellishments. You know, always has a prominent place. Birdie does. Always seems to be at the right place at the right time. Yeah.
Brina grabbing him by the tail and Birdie kind of walking up as he's playing his lute to inspire the troops. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you guys get a hero's feast, and it's about midday at this point. Yeah.
We want to do this thing, or start making our way. How are we getting over there?
I think Q3 is providing transportation.
I was gonna cast the wind walk again.
Oh, yeah.
If that was amenable to everyone.
Maybe tomorrow.
I say, is the plan to take a long rest here and then do it in the morning?
It would be fine for me either way. If we did it in the morning, I could I get at least one spell slot back and could potentially swap out like transport via plants for something more useful. Because the wind walk is with the amulet, and I could do it at any time.
Could we do the heroes feast tonight rather than at lunch, and then that way?
I was gonna say I forgot what time of day it was, so yeah.
Yeah.
Like eat lunch with the troops, get fed and watered, and then at night have
I just want to make sure it's
A
like
hero's
not mid
brunch
battle
indeed.
tomorrow. You're like, oh guys, it's
It's 12:01.
Oh my God.
As
Heroes
the crazy
menacing.
poison covers you, you realize time's up.
Turns out, never have an early lunch.
But yeah, if we're just taking like a long rest here, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, that is my 9th level spell, so I'd like to have it back.
Unless anyone has any major like issues with staying.
Plus, that's another chance for Kala.
Hey.
How epic would that be to have it, this fight?
I will say after lunch, you guys have 5-6 hours to kill, just kind of wandering around the fort. You're kind of shown like where outside the fort, within sight of the walls, is like safe to walk if you feel like it.
Yeah, I'm going to the beach.
Some of the soldiers on duty explain like you can walk down to the lakeshore, and it's not terrible. You just have to be on guard because earth elementals and there are tar elementals. They're temperamental. They bubble up from the ground, and they don't like sentient creatures like entering the water. So they pop up, they grab people, they get you real sticky, and they kind of drag you underwater and you drown. Earth elementals are just as cranky, because you guys do learn this, that there used to be, up until very recently, there was a Flame Legion ritual site nearby. They called it the Incendiary Temple. Ritlock and his band of soldiers are leading this part of the front against the flame. They just recently captured it about a month ago, and kind of razed the temple to the ground. The battle was really hard fought, so they're kind of recuperating now. They're just kind of getting back into fighting strength. They're waiting on some reinforcements from the Citadel. But one of the things the Flame Legion did in this region was they conducted rituals at the temple to pollute the lake and to like increase the yield of the oil, which kind of drove most of the scale out of the water and onto the land and made problems, and the whole thing just like kind of tipped the balance of nature. And Kitri, like as they're telling you that, you're like, makes sense, which angered the elemental spirits, and so it's just a kind of a dangerous place to go. Danger for you guys at this point is kind of relevant or relative. So, you know, they kind of show you can walk down and look at it, and there are spots on the surface of the lake that are kind of slicked with oil and multicolored. There are some that it's just water, but it's a darker kind of muddy brownish black. And it's easy enough to find, long-toed, clawed, webbed tracks near the sort of rocky shore and the muddy gravel where scale have passed, hunting around recently. You can see from the size of the track that they are medium-sized creatures. They're about the size of like a person. They're bigger than Alex.
I was gonna say they're bigger than me. Oh well, yeah, never mind. As soon as I figured that out, I'm like, okay, I know enough. I'm done.
Yeah, the Char warn you that their favorite hunting tactic, being amphibious, is to roll up to the shore under the waves, kind of like an alligator, and wait, and then leap out and pounce on something. If it tries to run, they'll spray it down with acid to kind of cripple it, and then they'll drag it into the water and eat it. It has taken the life of many a scout.
If you want to maybe fly around a bit, Alexa, we could do that, but it doesn't sound like it would be very fun going right next to the lake. But I'd be up for, we could fly around a bit. I could turn into a bird and just carry you.
I hadn't thought about magic angles. I really just kind of wanted to, play around with some elementals. But if there's something bigger than me down there, I'm good.
Most things bigger than you. Like the elementals were going to be bigger than you.
Well, right, but they're not like smart.
I mean, the
just a bunch of rocks.
Are just predators.
Yeah, they've got instincts.
I mean, it sounds like both tried to drown you or kill you, so...
I don't know. There's something... I guess I'm just not afraid of rocks or tar as much as I'm afraid of something that is actually alive.
Okay, well, let's not be prejudiced towards elementals.
They're just a bunch of something. Bunch of air, bunch of rocks, bunch of water.
Or people that have been turned into air rocks or whatnot.
Right, forgot about that.
Yeah, good old scare.
That fucker was a vampire. That was crazy.
Yeah, how long did... That was like a month ago, right?
I feel like we kind of glossed over his scaring, and I know it's because we had like a lot of stuff going on at the time, but that guy was a mess.
Hey, you remember when that mom hated her daughter?
I do.
Just shipped her off the moment she could.
Oh. Fuck my kids. I don't care about them.
Honestly, that was more important to us than the Scaren's whole arc, was just that mother-daughter relationship.
That we misconstrued hard.
We were like, maybe once she's not under the influence, she'll want to go back. And she was like, no, fuck that.
You say
Turns out she just loved the Scaren.
Yeah, you say misconstrued, Alexa. We read between the lines, okay?
Sure. I don't know if there were lines to be read between, but it's pretty straightforward in the end.
So you guys have a couple hours to kill, roaming around the fort. Is there anything anyone wants to do during that time?
I'm just curious if his description of them sort of using magic in order to pollute the environment and cause disruption and chaos that has hindered Ritlock's band of people, is that something that Galitar would be able to sort of use this time to maybe think about, like, once we get back, if there was like an extended period of working with like other mages like the Derman Priory, what kind of solutions might be able to either return the oil flow to what it was prior, or how to undo the magical interference that the Flame Legion created in this area?
I mean, you could spend some time thinking about it. I think you've already kind of hit on the conclusion, is that you would probably need to make it a long-term project and
yeah
to look at it and stuff. But yeah,
okay. You just come up with a little plan and like write some notes and stuff for the Derman Priory and some of the other magicians.
Is Galitar going to Tarir today?
Did I need to go to Tarir today, or was that? Did I already go to Tarir? In my notes anymore.
You were going to take the Bloodstone to Aurene.
Oh, yes, thank you. I had already just written that off in my notes, and unequipped and put on my wizardy robes. But yes, I would like to go to Tarir and try and figure out the Bloodstone. Thank you for remembering my notes better than I did.
Not a problem. I actually made notes last game. So I assume you tell your party that you're teleporting out.
Yeah, and I think he had already told them about the nature, at least Alexa, about the nature of the Bloodstone. So yeah, he would just sort of give a quick heads up and then head out. And if anybody wants to come with him to Tarir, he will happily teleport them to the outskirts along with himself.
Yeah. So what spell gets you there? Is it teleport?
Teleport, yeah, but it's specifically from Marak, just outside the city, because the city had the defenses against teleportation. And then, yeah.
Okay. Does anyone want to go with?
I'm good. They're magically delicious.
To,
break a curse.
He's going to like all these bomb ass places, and we're like, we'll sit here in the char fort.
I want like
have
a
fun.
tour. Like I want a workplace tour. Like if someone was to take you to a marathon plant and show you all the different vats of stuff. That's I think what Brina is hoping for at the fort.
The plainclothes aide, like Ritlock's just like, oh, perfect. Yeah. Oh no, hey, and he motions, and this guy comes around. Like, I need you to show these people everything. Really thorough. And you watch as like a little gleam of pride comes into the aide's eye.
Excellent.
I suppose we can chuckle him.
Here to support this man.
Brina's like nodding along, excited.
Galitar feels genuinely conflicted now about leaving.
Go break your curse.
As you get to
none of us takes good notes
into the courtyard to activate your teleportation, there are several people. Like it's a busy courtyard. Several soldiers kind of stop and they like see you doing your prep and getting your stone out and watching. The rest of you watch as Galitar sort of turns on the spot and vanishes, and the char there go, whoa, oh yeah, oh, all right, yeah. Like they're not accustomed to this because char, as all of you are well versed, they don't use magic. They distrust magic. Like there are char among the high legions who are practitioners. It's just very sort of muted and matter of the fact. They don't boast about it. They don't show out in public a lot. It's very downplayed. But easily you are able to reach Tarir. And after standing outside the gate for a moment, you see one of the bastions sort of floating over the top, and they wave their hand, and the gates open. You are allowed in, and you are taken down into the secret chambers beneath. You can see the hallway where you did battle has now been mostly repaired by the burnishers, who are the exalted who channel the energy to repair the defenses and then the structure. And the bastion that leads you down there takes you to the great door that sort of seals that chamber, and just turns and starts floating away. And for a hot couple of minutes, like you're sat in front of that door waiting, and it's maybe 4 or 5 minutes after that guy starts to turn to leave. He disappears around the corridor, and like you can't hear the sort of hum of his magical essence or aura. You can't see the light that they sort of dimly emit. And then you see the familiar pattern of glyphs kind of light up, and the door almost just sort of vanishes in front of you. And you are brought once more into the Chamber of Glint's Legacy. Which I think, I think this will do it. Just trying to change the art in Foundry. Yeah. Little fan art picture of Aurene looking at some of the character players. This massive chamber of solid gold, like heavily carved walls arching into this great dome with what looks like crystalline, kind of like stained glass, but it's like crystal mosaic inlay. And sitting on this dais, also just reflective, like gold-plated marble, is this large white crystalline dragon, a high flange of spikes and a great horn coming up from the nose. And as you enter, Aurene speaks and says, "Champion, I sense you come to me with purpose. Tell me what you seek."
I've been using this bloodstone in order to enhance my powers as best I can as we continue to fight against dragons. But it was made clear to me by someone very skilled in these matters that this was slowly killing me when simultaneously corrupting my blade here, Omen, and putting undue stress onto Avena's spirit. And so I was hoping that in your infinite wisdom of things arcane, you might be able to help me figure out how I could find a way to channel this power without hurting this blade and the spirit within it, just to be able to continue making the most of its boons until such a time that the dragons have been defeated.
So Aurene is sitting down on all fours, her four limbs kind of like almost like a cat, like laid over one another. Her long crystalline claws touching the gold-plated stone, and sort of you watch as she kind of taps one idly, and it's just casually putting like rents in the stone. And about 15 feet in front of her dais, in front of her gazing face, there is a smaller raised dais about 4 feet across and sort of generally circular in shape. It's a little rough, but she kind of flicks a claw in that direction and says, "Kneel, champion." You approach and you step up onto the dais, and you feel now a little closer to her. You can feel with your sense of the arcane the power of her aura filling the space. You imagine if you could see it, it would almost be like curtains of light underwater, sort of bouncing all over the surfaces, but you feel that sensation. And much like a school teacher, she sort of begins in an almost instructional voice. "The magic of the Shattered Bloodstone is tainted not only with Zaitan's corrupted energies, but also its malice and cunning. It hungers endlessly and tempts people into using the fleeting gifts that it provides. Over the centuries, that corruption has only deepened. The Mersat defiled the stones, using their white mantle pawns to sacrifice those with strong magical potential. Their rituals connected the power within the stones to the realm of torment itself, where even darker things were able to twist its magic to suit their own purposes. Your minister, Zaman, had only begun to taste the possibilities of Bloodstone magic, as you have. But Legate Minister Coricus had long ago lost himself to the darkness. When you and your allies confronted him, he was more a creature of torment than a man." She pauses for a moment in case there was anything you needed to say. She continues. "A fully grown elder with purity of purpose could, perhaps, cleanse the bloodstones of Tyria over many centuries, but such a task would be incredibly dangerous, courting disaster should the influence of the stones outmatch their own will. A small fragment like the one you carry, however." And she takes a breath and sort of like stretches her neck and kind of looks around the entirety of her chamber before coming back to focus on you. You see me here. You speak with me. But I am also in the mists, carefully repairing the damage wrought by the elders, one small stitch at a time, lest they become aware of my efforts. I am a part of everything. All the magic in this world, like blood in my veins. I feel it all the time. I could take your shard's magic into me, allow it to scatter, to break, like light passing through a prism, then reform it as it was originally intended to be, if you wish. But the choice must be yours.
Would doing so cause you any sort of pain or corruption or discomfort? Would that have any negative impact on you?
She takes a moment, and it's hard to read the face of a crystalline dragon. But tell you what, roll an insight check for me.
Okay. Oh, that's a 2.
Okay. She takes a moment to respond, and her face is sort of enigmatic as she says, "This will be the first of what I expect to be many tests of my abilities. But this is the purpose for which I was conceived, and for which I am preserved."
If you feel that you could do this, I think it would be helpful to have. And I would ask this of you if you do not feel it would compromise your ability to do all of the other things that are laid out before you.
There is the sound of like crystalline wind chimes and a slight shake to her chest, and you gather that she is softly and quietly laughing to herself. And she doesn't so much as grin as bares her teeth. And despite your knowing this creature and knowing its benevolent intent, it is a terrifying sight. Or at least it is a very, very intimidating sight. And she says, "If I fail this test, then I am not worthy of the great burden placed upon me. If you would undergo this challenge with me, place your stone on your dais and stand back."
Yeah, Galitar will place the stone on the dais and kind of bow as he slowly steps back.
Right. She kind of stretches her long serpentine neck out until her snout is just about 4 feet away from the stone. And you watch as she begins to take what is the longest inhale of breath you've ever seen in a creature. And you realize with what I expect would be a little trepidation that it's very reminiscent of the elder dragons you've seen preparing to use their breath weapon. She continues to breathe in, and it's almost like she can never be filled. And as she does so, she pulls her head slowly back, and you watch as these long red tendrils of power are pulled from the stone and begin to helix their way towards her. And then among them, thinner, darker, black strands of energy kind of weave their way in with those red tendrils until she is breathing them in from afar, and her head is upright to where its normal position would be. And as she completes that breath, the last of the tendrils sort of gets sucked into her. And for a moment, she just holds that breath. And her form doesn't necessarily change, but you catch in what are normally her her pearly, almost opalescent eyes, they shift to a shade of red and then bleed through with veins of black. And she continues to hold the breath, and she closes her eyes as though in concentration. And when she opens them again, they are returned to that sort of iridescent rainbow white texture. The gem that you have laid is now, instead of a red, like a dark red gem that's kind of speckled with black and like a dark, almost purplish crystal, it's now like a perfectly transparent ruby. So it's got a red tone, but it is see-through. And then in a startling kind of sudden motion, she exhales, much like her elder relatives. But it is a slow, rainbow-strewn fog. It's like watching mist roll off a waterfall in the sunlight as rainbows kind of form from the refraction of light in the fog. And it covers the dais that the gem is on. And as it does so, you can sense heat, but it is not the heat of primal fire. It is the heat of sunlight. It is a radiant heat. And it covers the gem, and as the last sort of rainbow strands get pulled out of her mouth, you watch as the fog itself starts to swirl and kind of get sucked back into the stone. And as the last shred of fog sort of vanishes, there's a flash of light, and the gem is now transformed. It looks like a fire opal. So it's, if you've seen an opal, like as you turn it in the light, there's the different facets of like rainbow on slivers inside the gem, but the gem itself is like a bloody crimson red. Yeah, it's quite lovely to look at it. And she sort of exhales a couple of times in short breaths, almost as though she's been through some exertion, and she says, and she gestures her claw towards it. There, a reunification of form and intent. This is but a small fragment of something intended to contain and conceal the most wondrous magics in the world. The memory of those forces will lie etched in its memory for all time. Use this well.
Thank you.
She sort of inclines her head and just says, is there anything else that was taxing?
No, I appreciate you doing that, and you did not have to, so I really appreciate it. I promise that I will use this gift that you've given me to the best of my ability to defeat the remaining other dragons and provide you with the opportunity to fulfill Clint's legacy.
She nods regally and respectfully, and she just says, you walk the right path. Be ever wary. It is easy to fall to darkness as we reach the greatest challenges of our lives. Desperation to achieve one's ends is a very rapid route to corruption. She sort of exhales another breath and kind of closes her eyes for a second. You can see she's struggling a little bit, but she's okay.
Thank you, Aurene. I appreciate it.
She nods again. Go in peace, and may luck favor you. I will be watching.
Yes, well, I hope that next time I see you, we have a lot of good news. So, thank you very much.
as soon as you break the plane of the door, it almost sounds like ice forming on glass, and you kind of turn around and you catch the last bit of that door sort of reforming in the space to seal the chamber. And it's easy enough to find your way back to where you need to be.
Yeah, I think Galitar probably takes the time to go ahead and start reattuning to that crystal while he's still in the space outside of her chamber door. And just uses it as some time to reflect before kind of going back to what I guess is the typical kind of busyness of the char camp and everything else going on, but just while he has kind of this serene, peaceful moment to just kind of relax and focus on channeling this magic.
Cool. So, looking back in your mind through your history lessons, you know that and from what Ogden recently told you, the original Bloodstone was a single thing. It was very, very large. It was a construct created by the Seers, which were actually the same race as the Mersat. They were just a different faction. It was created during the last Dragon Rise to contain all of the magic of the Seers, the Jotun, the Dwarves, and all of the original races of Tyria that had access to magic, to hide it from the dragons. The human gods, unknowingly, tied that Bloodstone to another source of power that they felt beneath ore before they realized the nature of Zaitan. Ultimately, Abaddon, the god of secrets, decided that humanity was their favored peoples. They brought them here, and they were being eaten alive, quite literally, by the Char. So they needed to release the magic of the Bloodstone and gift it to the world. But doing so immediately caused terrible wars to break out, even amongst humans, because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the gods decided to... it was actually a human king, the high king of humanity at that point, King Doric, came to the gods and said, look, we gotta fix this. So they worked a powerful magic with King Doric to seal the stone with his blood and the blood of his descendants. That's why it got its name, the Bloodstone. And that kind of sealed the fate of the stone in a way, because it had already kind of been corrupted by Zaitan. That had kind of leaked out. They'd put some of it back, sealed it with blood, which is not like a kind of a holy rite, it's sort of deep, dark magic. And Abaddon was pissed. And that's what led to him, the schism. He thought that magic should be free and open, that you shouldn't keep secrets like that. So he went to war against the gods, and eventually he was thrown into the realm of torment. The stone was shattered into several pieces, and those pieces scattered across Tyria so that no one could ever wield that kind of power. The White Mantle found some pieces. The Mersat helped them, and you now possess one of those fragments. But the long history of that corruption, Zaitan's sinister side, the fear of the Mersat, the blood sacrifices of humans with magical potential, the corruption from the realm of torment, all of that has now been erased. And what you hold is a pure expression of the Seer's great power to store magical potential. This is a legendary gem. It has 3 charges. While you hold it, you can use it as a spellcasting focus if that becomes relevant. Each day at dawn, it gains all 3 charges back. When you cast a spell holding it, you can spend a charge and ignore up to 500 gold pieces worth of components. And you can expend 1 or more, so up to 1,500. When you finish a long rest, choose a spell from any class list. It has to be of a level you can cast, which doesn't matter, because you can cast 9th level. So that spell, it'll count as a a spell you know, and you can cast it with your slots as appropriate until the end of your next long rest. And you can then choose the same one or a different one. The magical potential of the Bloodstone is now yours to wield. It's called a Ruby Weave Gem.
Okay. I'm so excited. Thank you. I'm going to go look this up and just be blown away.
Ignoring cost component is amazing.
I thought you guys would enjoy that.
Ooh.
For those of us who have trouble coming by regular sources of income.
No, but I don't really. I work in different ways.
I'm honestly like almost destitute. I think I'm down to like 2,500 gold or something. I mean, that's poor.
I have all of my money with me, and that's like 70 platinum and 70 gold.
Left mine under the mattress back at the tavern.
So you're at like rock bottom then. Oh my god. I mean, this is how this country takes care of its troops, honestly. If you... the thanks...
Well, say 700 gold is still like a year's salary for more than most.
No.
Yeah, Birdie is like the 0.1%. Yeah. He is the ether rich person now.
The 0.1%, you know?
It's like the merchant princes and then Birdie just below.
He is fast catching up.
Perfect. So and this replaces the +3 effect, right? So I can just delete the old. Okay. That's what I thought. Cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. A reward for excellent roleplay.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, after getting that, then he'll make his way back to what I'm sure is the raucous tour that has occurred of all the stuff going on in the Char camp.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, Kala doesn't go on the tour with the kid.
Once I see how excited he got, I feel bad not going.
I definitely
That's not heartless.
Oh, you're coming on the tour, Birdie.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We're going on a tour.
Birdie, there could be some really hot people.
I need you to sketch me next to the big turbines.
I'm not gonna do that, Braina.
We don't adventure like we used to. Take advantage of the tourist opportunities.
Yeah, something's changed.
The wonderful vistas of our pit.
When is the last time you saw a fire pit? Like a real big one?
I don't know that that's something I ever wanted, really. Wow. You know?
What if it's something we wanted?
Go on the fucking tour then!
So yeah, this canvas clad, it's just like a very simple rough spun tunic and breeches that end at the knee, some sort of makeshift sandals on. It's fairly typical, Birdie, of civilian Char. They don't really dress up unless they've spent a lot of time among humans.
Yeah.
And this one, he's thinner than most, but it's still like a stocky, large, predatory creature. But he very quickly starts to show you guys around the camp, whoever's interested in tagging along. He doesn't even really pay attention to who's coming. He just starts pointing things out, and every now and then looks back and gestures, and then keeps talking. He shows you where the mess hall and the privies are, where the stables are, pack marmoxes. They don't really have mounts here. Some of them can ride a marmox, but they don't really have horses. Horses don't like Char. Char eat horses. Yeah. There's an armory. It's got most of the mundane weapons, pikes, glaives, axes, swords. It has some muskets and some pistols, ammunition and stuff, powder kegs for the cannons. There is a pretty large structure that houses several Char siege engines. But he takes you up to the walls, and you can see a lot of the larger siege machines are outside, kind of strategically arrayed at points around the sort of hemispherical shape of the wall. It shows you the battlements themselves, some of the ballista and the light cannons that they have. the Tribune's tower, the barracks below. It kind of stretches into the wall in portions. Yeah, he takes great pride in his work.
Excellent. Rena does ask if she can fire a cannon.
So he looks very nervous and says,
I don't have clearance to allow that. You would have to ask the gunner.
Are you sure?
I could be court-martialed. I could get the gunner if you wish.
Is he like close by?
I don't know, but I could find out.
Maybe on the way.
Have you seen the cannon fired before?
Oh yes.
Yeah, have you ever fired the cannon?
No, I don't.
Do you want to?
You want to fire the cannon?
Not particularly.
Oh.
I'm part of the Quill warband. We're mostly correspondents and assistants to the officers.
That's cool. You like write the letters and stuff?
I do. When I'm on duty, yes. When I'm deployed.
I suddenly really want to pet you.
I would rather you not.
This really cute.
You like swords?
I mean, it depends on the sword. Some of them are well crafted and pleasant to see. I don't really like to wield them.
What is this guy's name? I'm obsessed with him.
Sorry, I'm Felix. Felix Fiercequill. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Fiercequill.
I'm Tribune Brimstone's aide-de-camp.
Felix Fiercequill. Man, that's crazy. So, in addition to like your like do you do any off-duty writing? Or
right, like any relax writing?
Oh well, yes. The Correspondence Corps. We mostly deliver messages and take notes. Keep the log entries and things while we're deployed, but when we have downtime at the Citadel, I like to write reviews of some of the food stands and the finer restaurants that I've been to. I hope someday I could publish. I hear in Lion's Arch they have papers that are published regularly with current events. I thought perhaps they might publish one of my articles.
Oh my gosh, Felix Fiercequill's fine food.
Oh, I like that.
Holy shit, Brina, whoa.
That's a good title.
I can't think of another F word. You need like folio. But like, that isn't.
I could create
fine dining.
all of my reviews and call it Fiercequill's Folio.
Fiercequill's. Or, we're going.
Wow, it's really tough, actually.
Fine food folio. I like it.
Fine food folio. I'm loving this. And if you ever get into creative work, I'd love to read it. I've got a bit of a taste for literature, but
I don't suppose you have any connections in Lion's Arch around publishing press. I mean, I assume anyone
Birdie here
would be happy to meet you.
I think so.
Birdie did not go on this tour.
Okay. No matter what, we badgered him.
Hannah does want him to meet Birdie, though, now that he is a man of fine tastes.
Right? It's like, he could have it.
Curious if they have, like, similar views on restaurants.
Birdie actually has these really nice cards, so he might know someone.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like if we just walk around Lion's Arch long enough, we could find someone.
If it's not too forward, I would love to call on you, pay you all a visit in Lion's Arch someday. Perhaps we can discuss it.
Yeah, no, send me a resume or something. That'd be awesome.
You're welcome to stop by anytime.
Absolutely, I certainly will. You say you have a taste for literature.
Oh
yeah. Any favorite books, recommendations?
Right, Brina.
Probably never heard of them.
I don't have much experience besides Char authors, I will admit.
That's okay. So what do you say about the looking into that shooting the cannon now?
Brina.
I can go get the gunner if you wish.
To the gunner!
Just wait here. I'll return shortly.
And he scampers down the steps. He gets about 120 feet away, and you can hear him like, "Gunner! Master Gunner! Where's the gunner?"
Brina's like, do you think he's gonna let me do it?
I think you have to badger the gunner, but I think we'll win.
I think it's 50-50.
I appreciate that he doesn't know the gunner's name, and he's just yelling for the gunner.
Gunner!
Or maybe they change on shift.
What does he get to do around here?
He was calling for the Master Gunner, who would be the the chief gunner on duty. So it could change from shift to shift.
He gets to write letters. That's what he does around here. I'm obsessed with this man. And I hope he does come back.
Every NPC we get to meet, we either make their life better or totally fuck it up.
Make it infinitely worse.
Yeah, or like poor Ritlock now. It's like, how? How in the world?
My end goal for this campaign is now to like get Mortimer and this guy and just all of our favorite NPCs to like have a book club or be friends or do something together.
Go camping.
Yeah, just some sort of like Trollskull 6 support group.
I feel like
we survived the Trollskull 6.
It's a win-win. If Felix pursues his dream of being a columnist in the Lion's Arch paper, and Ritlock doesn't have to deal with another intern.
Maybe he could work with Tim, and Tim could become like the leading sheep producer or mutton producer for a fancy restaurant. I don't know.
There's layers to this.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a paper guy, so like,
yeah,
he's got good shit too. You know, he's got.
Does he do folios?
Yeah, he did. He printed my cards, so you know, he did a great job with them. Yeah.
This poor guy is going to need like 2 years advance pay to be able to afford the same person you use for basic business cards.
Well, I
think we're going to give him
not basic,
right? He can start paying me installments today, and I will act as a middleman, right, for him and my paper supplier.
And if he gets a couple other people to buy business cards,
how did I not see it coming that Bertie would become an MLM based on that 1999 installment model from the 90s?
Did you not notice the pyramid on the business card?
Bertie's like, for 30 easy payments of 1999.
150% interest.
At this point, you see Felix coming back up, and he's almost pulling this very broad, very wide char. This guy is husky around the midsection, but his arms, his upper arms that you can see exposed between the metal gauntlets and the giant pauldrons are like
Brina, I've got this one.
Oh, okay.
Like the biceps are just like small pony kegs. He's just a huge hulking, but he's shorter than most char, so he's like short but very, very broad built. He has like a ragged leather eye patch over one eye and just a terrible scar. It doesn't even look like claws. It just looks like a quarter of his face was torn off. There's no fur. It's just like gray skin that's wrinkled and scarred underneath the patch. He's got a pair of like curling ram's horns, and then a small set of pointed horns that are about 3 inches long that stick out of each cheekbone underneath that. His hair is mostly like a gray with white tips, and at some points along his snout and like the underside of his throat, it's like a darker gray, closer to black. Eyes are like bright yellow irises. He sort of like hustles or shuffles his way up the stairs, and you can see him like, "Get off!" He's just like pushing the aid away.
Oh shit!
Felix reaches the top of the wall and says, I'm telling you, Ritlock said we should be as accommodating as possible. So, Mistress Brina here would just like to fire the cannon, if that's all right." And the gunner's just like taking up the width of the walkway from one side of the battlements to the bit overlooking the courtyard. puts a hand on each hip, and like one elbow's hitting the side of the wall, the other one's like he's eclipsed Felix, who's standing behind him, completely invisible. He sort of glowers at you, Brina, at eye level, and just says, "You ever fired a cannon before, wench?"
Don't love the tone. I think
I didn't
on the
ask if you liked the tone. I asked if you fired a cannon.
I think on the ship one time,
Well, this ain't a ship.
which is a different cannon, and I'm kind of into this one.
So the cannon that you're looking at, it has a sort of spherical iron casing, and on your side of it there are these two large brackets of iron, almost like rebar, bent in the shape of like a staple. But they're so thick your hands don't fully like grasp around them. Yours are pretty close, but your fingers don't touch. And you see on the ground beside you, there's like a little iron box full of what look like flints and little like odd iron rods with tiny little like hook things coming out of them. And between these handles, these great iron handles, is what looks like the back end of a cannon from a pirate ship, but it's inside this spherical casing, and there's just a slit carved in where the back pokes out, and you can see hanging out over the battlements between the two crenellations. This gun is like 9 feet long. The gun itself is probably 2 feet in diameter, and this guy just says,
Tourists. In order to use this gun, you have to grab the handles. It takes a lot of strength to aim it. Don't let it point down too close to the wall, or it'll damage the structure. You want to point out further. We don't have any patrols in the area, so aim it out over the lake. Let me see how you do.
Yay!
he turns around, he like cups his hands over his mouth and takes a deep breath and says,
Fire in the hole, in the hole, in the hole, in the hole.
Can I say it too?
Echoing out over the courtyard. And as you grab this thing, you start to pull it, and the entire spherical iron casing begins to screech. But you move it, like you can feel the weight of it.
Could use some oil from
fucking
the
heavy.
lake.
WD-40.
But you move it, and he kind of like whips his head to the side.
Huh. All right. A little higher. Pull down.
I pull down. There's a groaning of iron.
All right. If you can steady it with one hand, hold it in place. Grab a fuse.
He's gonna grab it from the bottom. He's like, oh.
All right. With your thumb, click the little latch on the side.
And it's the little rod in your hand has a little tiny striker on the side. And as you do that, a little lever moves, and it's kind of like a striker for a gas stove. Click it. This little tiny inch-long gas flame out of what is a very, very small rod.
It's like, all right. When you're ready, put the flame in the fuse hole, just there. But hold on tight. It kicks like a marmox.
Rita just goes, fire in the hole! And lights the fuse.
You put the flame into this open aperture. I need you to make a strength saving throw.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby.
Come on now.
Those of you standing near the wall, not just on the battlements, but like Birdie, if you're in with like 600 feet, you hear a deafening concussion. Boom! And Brina, this thing kicks back into you, and it like knocks into your chest just a little bit. But you are able to kind of like absorb the blow, and it drives the wind out of your solar plexus for a moment, but you're able to hold your position. Your feet scoot back about a foot on the steel of this gantry. I mean, you just watch as this ball about a foot in diameter is just ejected out in a flash of muzzle fire and smoke, and just this whistling fades into the distance. And you try to track it, and eventually it just sort of like fades from view until there's a little splash as it hits the water. Put your hands up, and then it explodes, and this shower of water erupts like 300 feet in the air.
That went from an 8 to a 10, Brina. Hands down.
Brina's like, oh, that never gets old.
You see, like, several char now are coming, like, running towards you, and the gunner is just waving in an X pattern at each of them. They kind of stop. You see people halt, and you see them give commands behind them. And he's like, field test. A couple of them salute, and one of them gives him the finger and just like turns around. You see, like, now Ritlock is standing outside the door to his tower, like the small balcony outside one of the windows. You can just see irritation, and he turns around and slams the door with a "Kang!"
We had the afternoon off.
The gunner just kind of looks at you. I think that's all we can do. The Tribune didn't look too happy.
No, that was so cool.
We'll smooth it over. It's okay.
Yeah.
Bring him Gaharon's head. He'll forgive just about anything.
Deal. Thanks, man.
It's pretty much that, or we won't be coming back anyway, so.
It sounds like my kind of party. Have fun.
You just started it off with a bang, so it's very appreciated.
Kind of gives him like one of the weird handshakes, even though he called her a wench, which she's gonna just move past because misogyny.
He gives you like
fine.
a respectful handshake and like winks his good eye at you.
Yeah, she's riding the high of having launched another cannon. It's a simple choice.
Yeah. At this point, Galitar returns. You guys are united once more.
Mid-tour, or did Felix have to give it up?
At this point, we'll say that the tour has come to its conclusion.
I will say, so thinking through this plan, right, where we're going to catch a shaman and we're going to have him bring us to the door and open the door for us. I still think it might be nice to have a pretense of like, we're prisoners kind of thing. Right? Is that something we're interested in? I'm talking to Kala about this at this point. Do you think we ought to like try to get a disguise on or something? Like, is that something worthwhile? Or like have some shackles or something? Because I could try and make some.
If we're moving through the mines, that would be helpful, but anywhere else.
Well, I'm thinking like getting through the front door, right? Like just give us a second where, you know, we're being led by this guy and we can at least get into the mines before people start to take notice.
It might help. It's just not going to help later in other parts, you know.
No.
They don't let
really
slaves up in the
yeah.
important areas.
Well, that's how you get into the mine, though, right? It's like you got to get through the obsidian doors first.
Through the doors, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna spend some time working on those. I'll get out my marvelous pigments. And I always have this somewhere.
Basically, the way I understand the layout is there's like a ground floor that's kind of like a lobby area inside the door, and you go up for the temple and religious stuff and down for the mines.
Char voices are hard.
Yeah.
Ritlock would clarify. So the great obsidian doors on the outside open into the Cathedral of Flame, which is only one level. There's a big hallway with pillars. There's a throne room. There's some barracks, and on that level you will find the entrance to the mine and the great lift that goes directly to the foundry. So you got like a kick down the door route and a stealthy route. So that's one level. Then there's the mines beneath that and the foundry beneath that at the foot of the caldera.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's the.
But also the
top
cathedral
level.
is the guy. It's Gaharon.
The cathedral is where Gaharon's throne is, and where the Hierophant's chambers are.
Okay, I was thinking there was another level up.
No, yeah, everything's one
Okay,
level.
it's all one level.
Well, this
One
is
level.
we sweep and then we go down.
There would be a point at which, beyond that, it would be weird to have slaves, I'm guessing.
Probably after we start killing everyone on the immediately.
Just general operations, if we're trying to pretend to be slaves, heading towards the religious side of things would be weird to have slaves over there.
The way Ritlock describes it, to the best of his knowledge, is the throne room is kind of at the end of a hallway, but there's an alternate route where when like new captives are brought in, they're just sort of taken down that other hallway to the mine entrance, and they just sort of avoid the rest of the complex.
Yeah, so I guess it's a question of, do you want to go? Do we want to clear out the whole top floor, where like the guy we're after, Gaharon, might well be in like the lower layers or something. I don't know where he's gonna be, but like, do we want to clear out the whole floor? Or do we want to go down into the mines directly, start the rebellion, and then disperse from there?
I don't really know if one way or the other is better. Just different.
Should we try and base the plan on whether or not Gaharon is on that top floor? So if he is up there, we just deal with him first. We make that the focal point. If he's not there, maybe we do start from the bottom. So just try to start wherever he is.
He is the wild card, I guess.
He probably doesn't take a tour of the mines very often.
Well, apparently, but he would go down to the foundry, right?
Maybe.
That was what Ritlock said, is that sometimes he goes down to the foundry.
Ritlock said that the foundry is where a lot of the work of the cathedral and the Flame Legion is done. So the shamans go down there frequently to do rituals, to do various administrative tasks, and yeah.
I didn't think to ask, but if we would have time, I think Galitar would try and find Ritlock, or just ask if they tend to follow sort of like a normal workday pattern where they're sleeping up on that top floor at night, or if they tend to like work at night, sleep during the day, just sort of what their time cycle typically is in the.
So Ritlock says while he was there, and this was probably like 10 or 15 years ago, he observed that there are quite a lot of beds in the barracks. There's a section for like the general rank and file, and there's a section for kind of like the elite guards that are tasked with guarding the Hierophant and Gaharon himself. But like the majority of the forces are either in the foundry working and guarding slaves. A handful of them work on certain levels of the mines to kind of keep slaves there. But the bulk of them typically are out on patrol in the surrounding areas. There are guards in the cathedral to guard the space. But as far as like a schedule, it's just kind of like military. There's always somebody awake.
Yeah, but I guess does he know like when the leadership tends to like sleep or be awake working? Like if there's
The
Yeah.
leadership tend to follow their own schedules. It's just
Ah,
it
okay.
depends on what they're doing. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Magical
it's,
rituals are weird. They
Free
kind of fuck up your
thinkers.
schedule.
it's
Freaking
just
religion, man.
if we wanted to try to bypass the first floor and go straight into the mine, that is something I could work on.
I think
we're
we
gonna
should
go
do the
in and
first floor.
clear it floor by floor, then
If we want to surprise Gaharin, maybe start with him on the top floor.
I think we just have to start with where Gaharin is, to Kala's point, because that'll be the toughest enemy, and that'll be where we need as many of our resources as we can.
Yeah, I feel like we can handle some guards, even if they know we're coming.
Straight to his throne room and then hope for the best.
What I could do is, or Kitari could also do, or Bertie, if you have your gym thing, you could also do, is we could attempt to scry on Gaharin and just figure out where he is around the time that we land, and if we determine him to be on the top floor or on the bottom floor, we could then kind of adjust our schedule accordingly.
Don't we have to be more familiar to scry? Also, my ability to scry is limited to only after short rests. Or after I've rested.
No, we don't have to be more familiar. It helps with the process, but just knowing who he is would allow us to attempt this guy. If Ridlock or anyone here, I doubt they would have anything of his, but or if any one of us had met him or knew like a picture of his likeness, anything like that would help with this scrying process, but just knowing who he is enough to give us a chance. I can also scry for free as well, like with Omen. So if we wanted to try that, it would be a free resource kind of option upon landing tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess I'm not gonna prepare.
He might also just be shielded.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I'm
I
just
feel
not
like
gonna.
he would be.
Yeah, I'm not gonna prepare my like seeming thing. I think we'll be okay without that.
I could
I think
also
it's going to be okay.
potentially, if we get close enough, I could use this crystal that Aurene just cleansed to perhaps try and locate him tomorrow.
True.
To use it to that effect. If I preset it so that it's focused around a location kind of spell, then I should be able to use that tomorrow to perhaps locate him if we're in, say, 1,000 feet or so.
I'd like to look around and see if anybody is listening to what we're talking about.
Oh.
As you kind of glance around, like there are Char kind of walking around and moving. A couple of them kind of like look your way every now and then, but nobody seems to really be paying close attention. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty regulation among Char. Like when the officers are talking, you mind your fucking business.
Okay.
There's no spies.
Make a perception check.
Oh, I'm not looking, but I figured that's what Kala was looking for.
No, I am not looking
Oh.
for Flame
Okay,
Legion
never mind.
spies.
Sorry.
I am looking because someone brought up something we're not supposed to talk about ever again. Glint's legacy.
I mean, because I mentioned Aurene.
Yeah.
That's true. Good point. I wasn't thinking about that.
So I'm just like, oh shit, is anybody paying attention?
Yeah.
Kala
Yeah,
immediately
it
starts
seems like
looking around.
nobody's
Okay.
really paying attention.
Whoops.
I didn't catch that.
I also know.
Brina hears Aurene, but doesn't register the name, but also assumes it's just like some dude that Galitar knows, because there's so many smart, like, who is Father Zatembe? Brina couldn't tell you, but she knows that Galitar knows him. Yeah.
Just accepts it. The group didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all accept it. Brina just didn't want to stand out.
Like,
All right. Well, I'm not going to be able to disguise this, so just know that. I don't want to hear any "well, can't you disguise us" moments, because the answer's going to be "fuck off." I told you no. I can make us some quick release shackles if that's something we're interested in. But honestly, it doesn't sound like we're going to do that. So Yeah.
Do we still, like, a lot of us do now have the ability to be invisible as well, right? Like, Kala's got her cloak. Yeah. Alex and I have spell ability to go invisible. Kitri can turn into a creature that would seem.
Yeah. All right.
I'm just saying, like, that way if Bertie doesn't have his seeming, we are all prepared for Bertie to specialize in the things he will specialize in, and we don't have to worry about the seeming or the mask or any of that stuff.
Cool.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, okay. Boogie.
All right. So eventually, you are given a sort of special room for diplomatic envoys. It's kind of a tight fit for 6 of you, but you make it work, and you are able to have your long rest.
So before we do the long rest, the hero's feast, and then also I wanted to cast Mind Blank on myself at 8th level, so that'll last for the next 24 hours.
Mind Blank. Galitar.
Oh, and can I redo my contingency spell for Goodkin's Gift of Protection again, with relation to fire?
Contingency gift for G-Gop.
Arigato.
Tarir. Sorry, guys, just need to make a note. Felix, Fireheart. Or, sorry, Fierce Quill.
Fierce Quill.
Oh, and then the last thing is I'll use that Ruby to prepare locate person for tomorrow.
Okay. Make a note of that. All right. Your preparations underway. You're able to have your long rest. Kala, this being a new day, new long rest. This time, I think it may structure better if I give you a choice. So, as you continue with a little headway to try to attune to this set of armor, I could see an insight check to try to understand the force better.
Yeah, I was going to suggest insight to try and figure out what it wants. If I can speak to this person.
Absolutely. Would you don't have to, but would you like to give a little flavor as to what that's like and how you go about it? You don't have to, but feel free.
We're all sleeping in the same room.
Yeah, this can happen before the long rest.
Yeah, I think Kala leaves for a minute and goes out on like the top of one of the walls or something to get a little space from everybody. She's gonna be like looking at her chest.
You mean
and,
that
like,
we're not probably
it's
bickering with each other?
I think she'll like knock on it a couple times to like try to wake it up or get its attention, and speak in Char and just
okay.
ask. I think she'll just ask like, what do you want? Like, why is this not working?
So what you receive in response, like you're speaking in your native tongue, which you do not do often. It acts as a sort of like an almost more primal part of your brain. Looking out over this rugged, wild land so close to Fireheart Rise, your home. And it helps you find your center as you start to address this entity. And as you focus on it and you speak and you ponder and reflect, you for a moment kind of get that feeling, like kind of just as you fall asleep and then your brain sends that pulse down through your leg to check if you're paralyzed yet, and you sort of shake yourself out of it. But in that moment, that flash just before you're pulled out of the state, you get flashes of imagery. What you recognize as a char farar, where cubs are raised. Now, you've not been through one, but you know of them, and you've seen the ones in the Black Citadel. You see an intrepid young girl clad in black, a little scar running down one side of her nose, kind of sneaking around, rolling, pitching forward, dodging behind barrels and crates, climbing up top of them, doing handstands and like walking across wires, training for stealth, for infiltration, showing a little talent as the flashes proceed, like getting a little older, a little talent with some illusion magic, the ability to access a side of the arcane, in a way. You see the insignia of the Ash Legion everywhere, on her uniforms, on standards, etched into the stone above her bunk. There are images briefly of her kneeling before a grizzled female char, with what looks like a black cloth mask sort of draped over the muzzle that sort of like rests behind the horns and just sort of like cloaks over the face, almost like a veil of leather. They're talking briefly, and you see like the standing char sort of gesturing imperiously and sort of like gestures off into the distance. And in the next flash, this young female char is standing at what you recognize as the entrance to the Dermot Priory, and is being invested with a sort of cloth mantle identifying her as a novice in the order. You see her in flashes poring over books by candlelight on a wooden desk in a dark stone room. She slowly gets older as the images kind of progress. Sometimes it's a fireplace with a chair, sometimes it's curled up in a bunk. You then see her standing in front of a glowing portal, a look of excitement and also fear, and two other Priory members, a human and an Asura, and they all step through the portal together, hands held. And then there are rapid flashes in succession of this female char, frightened and alone and wounded. There are images of her killing strange creatures, monstrous things with too many limbs and too many eyes, or not enough. More images of her stitching their hides together, fitting herself new armor. Pictures of her at strange forges, surrounded by a sea of stars and iridescent clouds, as she forges small spikes and pokes them through the leather that forms the arch of a pauldron. Strange creatures next to her, almost like small, chunky humans, but almost made entirely of bronze, with flames where hair should be, even a beard that sort of dangles like an upside down flame as they hold with tongs pieces of steel, and she hammers on the forge, the lion-faced, fanged pauldrons that sit on your shoulders. The images continue until eventually you see her swimming through this sea of stars alone. And you get this profound sense of loneliness and loss. Go ahead and make an insight check for me. 20, okay. You hear the words, I was Corva Mistwalker. I earned this. I made this. I carved this out of the mists myself. And that's when you snap back to sort of alertness, and you sort of realize that it was kind of a dream. It happened in dream liminal space. It's just a heartbeat. You catch yourself on the crenellations, and you find that beneath your fur you're a little sweaty, but armor sits a little snugger. There's a little bit of give to the pauldrons. There's a comfort there, and you hear a deeper voice, a male voice, grinding, almost like gravelly, that says,
Well, would you look at that? Getting closer, are we?
and that's all.
The voice also seems to come from the armor.
It is in your head.
Okay.
You're in touch. You come to learn that this was a tough, determined, powerful, self-made female Char who survived weirdness in the mist for years alone and fought her way, you assume, back to Tyria. But what that time did to her, and what mark it left on this thing that was crafted from things from there, is definitely unusual. But you have a little better handle on it.
All right, I'll go back with everyone else. Try to go to sleep.
Yeah. As you go to take your first couple of steps, you take one step, then another, third step down, and then you find yourself at the bottom of the steps of the wall. And you just kind of do a double take, and you realize that you are where you are. Interesting.
Like I don't remember walking down all the steps.
Like you took another step, and then you were here instead of there.
Okay.
You've seen Galitar use magic like that before, but you didn't necessarily cast a spell this time. It was weird. With that, you're able to take your long rest. Yeah, okay. So, let's see, it's 9 o'clock. You all have work in the morning. So let's say, let's not stop it just here. So in the morning you wake up, you get prepared. Is there anything you guys want to do before you leave the fortress?
Yes, because we are going to turn to mist, correct? That's our plan. And how long does it take us to get there? Do we know about?
Yeah, judging on the distance, and the speed. Hang on, I have a calculation.
The point that if it gets to it, I will give us, as we sit around at breakfast, I will pull out my wizard book and ritually cast telepathic bond.
Nice. So, when you windwalk, if you go at a normal pace to travel the 120 miles to get to where you want to go, about 4 hours. If you
Okay.
travel at a fast pace, it'll take 3 hours, but you have disadvantage on perception checks. That's up to you guys.
The first
Save
2
an hour.
hours we'll be able to talk, but not the whole time. Not the time that it
Unless
matters
you
at the
land
end.
and then ritually cast it again.
Can you unform, reform?
It takes 1 minute to form into a cloud and then 1 minute to unform, and you can go back and forth all day for 8 hours.
For some reason I was thinking it was only one way.
It takes a full minute, so you can't really do anything while you're transforming.
Read a piece before we leave, because she heard that if you don't, your pee turns into a cloud too.
Doesn't it just like evaporate?
Bertie told me. I'm just saying, Alexa, go quick.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I mean, I peed as a cloud last time.
And look at you.
I'm better for it. No.
Not a care in the world.
So how long is this journey going to take in Windwalk? Are we going to be able to make the whole journey or just part of it?
It's either going to take 4 hours or 3 hours. You can do it in 1 hour less with disadvantage on perception checks because you're moving at a fast pace.
But we are clouds.
Yeah.
The whole time.
I feel like we don't need to be that.
I will say, like, if you think about this, it's like 300 feet every 6 seconds. You're moving pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it's not like a cloud moving in the sky. It is significantly faster. So like you will be visible as those clouds.
And how
Like
long
behind
does
the
Windwalk
sky?
last?
8
hours.
Oh,
We got plenty of time.
You can
Yeah.
make it. You'll be there before lunchtime. Either way. So
yeah.
it's up to you guys if you travel at a normal or a fast pace.
Man, might as well just travel at a normal pace, right? Because some of us are perceptive, and it would be good to know if like there are a bunch of people on the ground pointing, being like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I agree.
Also, I just from a DM perspective, I'm curious, how does Mind Blank interact with Rory's telepathic bond? Because creatures can't like read my thoughts, but can I still talk to them? So like if Alexa is casting telepathic bond, am I still able to?
He's not reading your thoughts. It's just
Okay.
speaking. Yeah, it's just telepathy.
Yeah.
I don't think
Okay.
Mind Blank prevents telepathic communication.
It's
just
like sending, I thought.
Yeah. Telepathy is just talking with your mind.
I guess that's true.
It's not mind reading.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
All right. So with your spells cast, you take to the air and sail off. Fortunately, today, it is still kind of overcast. So you have a little bit of cover as you travel near the level of the lower clouds. It rained a bit overnight, so it's kind of misty on the ground, but as you rise into the sky, there is a low cloud layer. I will say that as you pass over the Cindercrest Mountains, there are several, I think most of you even, have passive perceptions over 20. You guys do notice after about 40 minutes of travel, you're kind of just crossing the peaks of the crests, and you see that in one of the high passes there is a sort of flat shelf, and the pass road kind of passes through it. It's not really a paved road; it's more like a well-trod path, and you can see what looks maybe like an outpost of some sort. With, I mean, it's fairly small, but it looks like a couple of what could be campfires. You can see like a palisade wall and some structures inside it, and it is just billowing with smoke. At the moment, it's about like probably 1,200 feet below you, though, so it's just very small on the ground, but you do see it. And it is your choice if you want to engage or you just want to keep flying in the direction you're flying.
Do we feel like we need to?
To get a little camp, a little kind of thing billowing the smoke, or
yeah, it kind of looks like a little palisade wooden walled fort of some kind. There's like several little structures inside. The pass from Diessa Plateau into Fireheart Rise passes through it. You gather that if you had taken the footpath, you would have had to pass through.
If we need to like back up, this would have to be cleared out of the way. We could weaken this for the future.
Yeah, are we gonna have to walk back out of here?
No, we can turn back to Clouds.
If we do it within 8 hours, we can turn back. And also, if we needed to camp out, I could do it again tomorrow.
We could check it out. What's the harm, right?
We're just clouds. They're not even going to notice us.
Is anyone able to like go invisible?
Yeah. Can I? Well, fuck. I'm a cloud. If I like, kind of move over top, can I like see down?
You're pretty high up. You're about 1,200 feet in the air, but you can get closer and look at it before you get too close. You just tell me what you want to do.
Scout it out for us, Birdie.
I want to scout it out. I want to take a peek. Take a peeksy poo.
Okay.
See if I can.
You kind of get lower and lower. You're about 600 feet above it, and you can see it a little better now. It is flanked on either side of the pass by a palisade wall. You can see on the side facing the direction of where Ritlock's camp would be. And this is like several hours on foot from there. But you can see in front of the gate, the fence, the palisade wall, there are large pits that have been dug out that have spikes in them for defense, but they seem to be uncovered. They are fully visible.
Yeah.
There are several large bonfire structures that are currently burning, and smoke is just sort of billowing out. But also there are several tents or yurts, like circular tents. Several of them look badly burned. One of them is actively sort of smoking. There are scorch marks all over the rocks on either side of this sort of pass. It's in kind of like a narrow canyon, sort of, as this pass goes through the mountains. And from 600 feet, that's about what you can see.
Do I hear any like screams, cries for help, or like am I too far away for that?
You're probably a little too far away for that.
Okay. If I got a little lower.
Yeah. You circle down a little lower. Lower.
Yeah, I'm a cloud. I'll circle down a bit lower. I just want to see if this is like, are people in danger here? Is what I'm trying to get a sense for, or is this like, a crime scene kind of thing?
Get to about 200 feet up, and things start to come into focus on the ground a little better. You can see that at one point there's almost what looks like a sort of totem pole that has char faces carved into it, fanged mouths agape, and it is singed. It's just blackened charcoal almost at this point, standing kind of askew, and there are bodies everywhere. What look like char with brown and orange and yellow fur, arrayed with leathers. Most of it dyed some type of crimson. just scattered. Some of them are tossed in heaps to the side. Some of them fell around the tents or the fires. They are smoking. And some of them are shriveled. Some is little more than just a pile of burned leather armor. And you just see like scattered ash.
Yeah, looks like the Flame Legion might have made their way through. Carla, does this look familiar at all? Or like, is this...
Does any of this look familiar to me?
You come down and join him at the 200 feet.
Yeah.
Nearby, Kala, you see that the tents and the totem itself bear the sigil, the crest of the Flame Legion. That this is a Flame Legion outpost.
Ooh.
So does it look like Flame Legion has been fighting Flame Legion, or like Blood Legion's been through here?
As
It's all
you
burned.
as you kind of use your senses to look at this scene, it looks to you like every corpse you see is wearing Flame Legion armor. There don't appear to be any corpses in like heavy steel or serrated armor like a Blood Legion soldier would have. You don't, with your ridiculous perception and survival, you don't see any
26.
You don't see any siege weapon tracks from the Iron Legion. And if Ash Legion has been here, you wouldn't know it anyway.
Are they able to communicate this back to us with the telepathic bond? Are we able to communicate as well?
Infinite range as long as we're on the same plane.
Are you all sharing all this kind of as you see it? Does it... I don't know that it would be a dragon or anything, or like fire elementals or whatnot, but do you see anything that would give you an indication of what could have made these marks color?
Can I tell anything other than it's just fire?
I would say that from 200 feet, with your perception and your survival skill,
does it seem like something I need to...
You see odd marks on the ground, but you're not sure what they are. There are places where the ground has kind of been like furrowed and like put into little piles of earth, and it's sort of like scorched black.
I think we're gonna have to go down there if we really want to figure it out. We need to really get a look at this.
And
it's weird.
Could it be the minions of what's his face that can travel through the air?
Oh yeah, I think it's some kind of monsters or you know, baddies. But it looks like a fucking slaughter down there. Like I think we're just gonna be getting into a fight if we go down there.
Is anything down there moving?
As you look down there, no. I mean, you occasionally see like the tent flaps sort of flutter in the breeze, like the tatters that are left of them. But other than that, no. And it's odd. Like there are no birds around here. You don't see like lizards crawling. Like there's no movement at all.
Although, are you able to tell like how recently this might have happened with your knowledge of these kinds of things?
Not from 200 feet.
Yeah.
I feel like you want us to go, and that makes me afraid.
Can I get over to? You said some stuff.
He just wants us to be curious.
Can I get like in a column of smoke to try and hide my approach a little bit and get closer?
Yeah, it's easily done with your natural stealth. Sure. Yeah, the largest of the tents is actually kind of smoldering right now, and it's not always like pure black smoke. It's sort of that burning thick smoke where it's like a dark grayish black with bits of white in it from time to time. You see that the tent itself is not like a flame, but it is certainly smoldering slowly. And as you kind of wend your way down, corkscrew sort of within that smoke, you're able to hide your descent. You get to the top of the tent, and you can from that point, looking out over you can clearly see the camp, and you can see signs of struggle. You see that some of these Flame Legion soldiers were terribly wounded. There are large rents in their armor, but the wounds all seem to have been cauterized. There is just charred flesh, no pun intended. Yeah, but it looks like something bad went down. Nothing seems to be moving though.
All right, I'll let everybody know that nothing is moving. From the way the bodies are laid out, does it look like they were fighting each other?
Again, with your passive, ridiculous survival, no. In fact, several of the bodies looked like they were fleeing and were cut down as they left or tried to leave. Several look like they clustered around the bonfires. There are 2 or 3 places where the bonfires would have been burning. There's a large brazier up on a kind of shelf on the north side that leads up to a smaller, kind of higher tent than the others. Several are clustered around that, but it doesn't appear that they were fighting each other.
This is really weird. I have no idea what happened.
Some kind
It
of
is very much a mystery.
fire boogeyman came out of the mountain and slaughtered everyone here. I mean, that seems pretty
Got to
straightforward.
be those dragon minions, right? Do the runes in the armor that you're describing, Colin? They don't look like weapons, right? Like they look like something that was hot enough to immediately cauterize the wound.
Well, I mean, it looks like magic. I mean, that could be.
Would I know
Flame
anything about
Legion
that being
stuff.
Primordus?
This is really far from here.
I mean, you have fought destroyers in the lower levels of the Sunken Citadel, the ruins of the Unseen Ones. So you know that the minions of Primordus are basically constructs of magma, and that when they hit, it burns.
Are the things like when she described, because we have encountered those minions once before, when she's describing the holes, does that appear of a similar nature to when they popped up from the ground? Did they leave a similar sort of hole behind them before when we encountered them? Like a mound of earth that had kind of...
So it was interesting. When you guys were in the ruins of the Unseen, down at the lower level, you were in an underground cave. And where those minions had burrowed into the ground, it was kind of like an open hole filled with magma, or at least with burning coals. But it was solid stone. And Kyle, as Galitar asks that question, you kind of look at some of these piled bits of rubble near the fallen corpses that are charred black, and this is loose dirt. It could be.
Couldn't give us one mission without bringing in the dragons, could you?
Does it look like there's anything valuable here? Anything worth taking?
And you see burnt armor,
Burnt sharp things.
The outline of disintegrated bows, swords that are blackened and cracked, some broken. Nothing looks particularly valuable now.
Okay. And this was like a military fort. It's just a bunch of mail char and Flame Legion armor.
Yeah, you don't see anyone not looking like a fighting char.
All right, I guess I'll go back up.
Okay. You guys continue on?
Yeah.
I will ask, what's about the 2-hour mark in our journey? Because that's when I'll have to recast it. Telepathic bond.
So you're not there yet. As you continue on, you kind of descend the other side of the Cindercrest Mountains, and you can see the plains of Fireheart Rise. And you, from this height, you can kind of understand its name. The Cindercrests come down, and then this plain sort of slowly slopes upward towards the distance. Towards what you know to be the Blaze Ridge Mountains, a higher range farther to the north. As you descend, you kind of follow with your eyes this path that went through the pass, and you can see it kind of zigzag for a while among some hills and valleys. Curiously, it passes below the foot of a particularly steep, rocky peak. It's sort of like black slate, and sort of spiked up a little further from the higher mountains among these foothills, sort of isolated, lonely mountain. And as you make your way around it, kind of following the road, you notice that, again, far below you, maybe 1,200 feet, there is this buttress of stone that kind of sticks out like a spur from this strange mountain, and it's curved. And as you pass around it, you can see that there are protrusions of stone, and it appears to have been rather primitively shaped to form what resembles a vaguely humanoid skull, but it's maybe 40 feet tall, and 50 feet wide. Like it's a huge edifice of stone. There are no bottom teeth. It's just like a top of a jaw with these jagged stalactites that kind of form the teeth, and you can see the glow and flicker of flame from behind the teeth in the shadow of the mountain. Do you press on?
I don't want to just roll up on these gamers, but like we also need a minute to unform, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the glow of fire.
You'd have to unform just to go look.
Mountain skull? Are you kidding?
You can just float right over and let us know, Birdie.
What the hell? I'll go take a peek. I want to see what's in the skull.
Okay.
I will. Okay.
All we start to hear from Birdie is all is joy. All is
No,
joy.
Ryan, I don't like the face that you're making. Stop
Our
that.
plans literally last until Ryan says, "And you see this," and then all of a sudden, everything that we spent like 2 hours discussing is just out the window because of curiosity.
It's a real world. There's stuff you
I
see.
know.
You don't have to
I
stop.
love and hate that about us.
Does this seem familiar in any way? Have I heard a story about this?
Yeah, have I heard anything about this either?
It's the middle of the day. We're seeing fire. Yeah, let's go check it out.
Kala, make a history check. This is to recall any lore you've heard being from Fireheart Rise.
All right.
Pretty not heard of this. What was that roll?
13.
It's respectable.
13. It rings a bell. You've heard of a mountain with like a rock that looked like a skull, but Fireheart Rise is fucking creepy and weird. There's lots of weird shit. Nothing particular stands out.
Yeah, I'll go take a peek. I tell everybody, I was like, all right, guys, come on. I'm gonna go. Let's go.
I feel like we gotta look.
Wall's going down.
It's weird, right? We gotta check
I'll
it out.
go. Yeah, I mean, I missed out on the camp last time, but this is more interesting.
I won't split the group. I won't split the group.
Okay.
At this point, I'm stuck.
Well, clearly Rena has to go.
Galitar will follow from a semi-distant, like is going with the group, but has learned his lesson that does not need to be the first one in the door in these situations anymore.
Okay. So you guys descend, and the closer you get, the more you can see that it's not like a perfect human skull, but it is humanoid. Like the eyes are where your eyes mostly are. The nose, it's a little broader. The forehead is a little more developed. The teeth aren't really shaped much like teeth, they're kind of natural stalactites, but the eyes just appear to be kind of like sunken depressions in the stone. They don't seem to have like caverns behind them. They're just sort of like deep spaces. But you have to get down to about 20-25 feet above the ground to see between the teeth at level. You kind of coast down to that level. You can see what looks like a small kind of open area just on the other side of these stalactites. And from both the left and the right sides, there are very bright, sort of flickering orange and yellow flame-like glows. In the center, from a little bit higher out of your sight, there's a more dim, kind of dark reddish, but still kind of like flickering and pulsing with the same cadence light. But you don't see anything standing or moving or occupying that space. It's just sort of like an empty cavern floor.
So there's nothing well, interesting. But it just like ends at wall, right? Like it's just like kind of a depression, or does this lead into like a cave behind?
There is a sort of cave entrance behind these teeth, and you're seeing that there are openings that it's kind of hard to see the shape of them from this distance, but you can see that there is flickering flame from deeper in the cave.
Oh, there's something
to the left and right, there are brighter glows, and to the center, kind of up at a higher level of elevation, like under the teeth out of your sight, there's a darker, dimmer red glow.
Are there any footprints around here?
As you survey the area with your crazy survival, yes, there are several tracks around here. Some are fairly broad, humanoid looking. They don't quite look human, but they have the right number of toes and the right arrangement. They're a little broader.
Like Bigfoot tracks?
Not that big, but certainly wide and thick and kind of heavy from the depth of the impression.
Do I recognize? Does it look like bear Norn feet? Or
no, these don't look like bear tracks. These are humanoid.
No. Norn feet without shoes.
Not quite that large.
Okay.
Make a nature check with advantage because of your background. Okay. So you've never seen these around Coal Hearth or the Blaze Ridge, but as you left Fireheart Rise and fled, you actually had to avoid these creatures sometimes. You recognize these as Grawl tracks. Sort of primitive humanoids, almost Neanderthal-like in their ape-like appearance, the sort of overhanging foreheads, jutting lower jaws. These are covered with like a thin, sort of grayish fur in this particular region to blend with the ash. You also notice, however, there are char tracks with them. There are several tracks that appear to have come and gone, but the freshest tracks seem to have gone in and have not yet come out.
Okay, I'll let everybody know that.
They're either going for slaves or some sort of work agreement.
Yeah, and we'll free them anyways. So
I don't know if they are like. Well, I guess, are they receptive to sympathy, Kala?
Grawl? They're just real dumb.
Well.
Did it look like from the tracks color that the Char and the Grawl were walking together, or did it look like the Grawl had like captured the Char and like had them in front?
It didn't seem like they were coerced. Kala you would know that it looked like they all walked in of their own free will.
Interesting. So are we wanting to go in?
And
this
Brina,
does almost seem.
Brina is familiar with tribes of Grawl that live in the slightly warmer areas of the Shiver Peaks. They're still high in the mountains, but it's in like the lower elevations where you do get green grass. You know that they're cave dwelling, relatively primitive compared to most other civilizations, they are animistic and totemic in their faith beliefs. They sort of ascribe human traits to inanimate objects. Not dissimilar to the spirits of the wild, but you've never seen Thrall beliefs manifest in actual effects the way worship of the spirits does for your people. And you know that they can be a little aggressive. The Norn have had trouble with them, like raiding caravans and territorial disputes, but generally the Norn have been able to handle themselves well because of your superior size.
Yeah, the Grawl are fine. You kind of just gotta let them do their
Alright.
thing.
Alright,
not
well
all
now that I
bright.
know it's just people, little Grawl. Now it doesn't sound as mysterious.
Well, I wonder what they're doing though.
Yeah.
Far are we from like the obsidian doors? Like our initial.
You
far are we
are
from D-Day?
about, at a normal pace, you're about 2.5 hours away.
Okay. Never mind.
Maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes, like ish, around that time.
We're like
Almost
not
halfway
even.
there.
We're like not even halfway.
Well, there's just
Yeah,
so
but
much
there's
to see.
something
Almost
going
halfway.
on
Almost
in this
halfway.
weird one.
Yeah.
Something going on in this weird.
I think it
skull
might be
neighborhood.
worth a
Going on in the
peek.
neighborhood.
Nobody goes to a cave skull for anything boring, right? It's not like Bridge Club or
Not
something.
for anything good.
Well, and also, is that super unusual color for like even Flame Legion Char to be in some sort of cahoots with the Grawl?
Yeah, they pretty much they kill you, they eat you, or they make you a slave. Those are the options.
These guys suck.
It doesn't look like that's what's happening here.
So it might behoove us to figure out what is going on. Ah, shit.
The question is, do we fart it in or do we
Oh.
form it up?
I think we form it up. I'm happy to. Birdie will go down to the place and start his unformation. His uncloud.
Uncloud.
Yeah, I guess I'll follow.
Yeah, I guess seeing Birdie materialize.
Okay, so you guys all kind of make your way down to ground level, a little ways away from the mouth of the cave, and take a moment to will yourselves back into your normal shapes. As you approach the mouth of the cave, you can feel heat, just raw heat, waves of it emanating from this open skull mouth.
Oh.
And that is where we'll call it tonight.
Oh, okay. Okay. What's in the skull?
What's in the ball?
Yeah. This is where like, oh yeah, this is our flashy distraction side quest that now we're like, ooh, shiny.
What's in the skull cave?
Well, we can always take a rest. We're not in necessarily like a big hurry to get
It's
to
not like we've got
Garen.
like a timeline.
Yeah.
Like this fortress is gonna be there tomorrow. It's gonna be there next week.
Right, if I
Unless
gotta wish
Ryan's
us some
distracting
shit.
us so that it's not, and somehow something is going to happen in the brief time frame in which he distracts us.
Hey,
Well,
listen,
we already
all
passed
I'm saying
Primordius minions.
Is if the
Or
distraction
if
Well,
is
maybe the
kills us
Primordius minions
again.
are moving in on the Flame Legion and going to partner with them after they murder them all.
all I'm saying is if the skull cave is the distraction, consider me distracted. Because you can't put a skull cave
Gonna work.
out there and just be like, oh, cool.
It's hard to like when Ryan says, let's play for a little bit longer. And then he introduces something that seems really cool. And then we get to that thing and he's like, yeah, let's stop. We'll pick up there next time, guys. Also be prepared
Skull
for the PPK.
cave.
I like you to be hungry for it when we come back.
Yeah.
Skull
Good job.
cave.
Yeah,
Skull
it
cave.
Not just a
out very
regular
well.
cliffhanger, extra cliffhanger.
Wow,
Here.
this is fun.